Yeah, I'm recording. I'm ready to go.
All right, I'll record me just for fun. All right, are we all good?
Yes, sir.
Do I need
All
to
right.
change the aspect ratio of my screen? I see I'm different from the two of you. Does that help or does that not matter?
I think you're all square. You're fine. The
Okay.
two of you are
All right.
golden.
All right, so here we go. me. All right. Hey, Upper East Siders, and welcome back to another episode of the Lonely Boys podcast. My name is Matt. I am one of your titular Lonely Boys, and I am not. No, wait, I messed up the intro. It's because we're on video now, Brendan. God damn it. And I am here to break down season 5, episode 9 of Gossip Girl, Rhodes to Perdition. But I'm not here by myself. I am here. Once again, he is all dollars and no cents. It is Brendan Ruppel.
Hello, I am your co-host, of course, the creepy uncle of podcasting, aka Uncle Cream. Hi, Diddle Cream Nation. I'm recording live as always from the crematorium. I'm your editor-in-chief here at Cream Weekly, Dr. Officer Cream reporting for duty.
Cream, yes,
Cream, yes, cream.
All right. So thank you
There
for
you
the
go.
salute. So
It
Brendan,
really gets in your head, this video stuff. Huh? It's tough to look at yourself. It's one thing to listen to yourself later on when you listen to a podcast, but to watch yourself
I know.
speak.
And we're still. It's
tough.
still new. It's the video age. It's still
Video
new.
age.
I started and I immediately crouched down and put my elbow on my knee, and then I looked at myself and I said,
you
"My
went,
posture's so off." And I just thought of everyone watching the video and saying, "Oh, look at his posture! Look at his posture!"
That's what all the comments have been about so far. Like our
Yeah.
shitty posture.
As
Nothing about the
we're
show.
bleeding out patron dollars as people keep leaving.
We'll use all our Patreon dollars at the chiropractor.
Yeah.
Promise.
No, chiropractors are a scam. Don't use.
I
chiropractors.
agree with that.
Yeah. Brendan, we're not here by ourselves. And if anyone's watching the video, they will see that there is a beautiful face in the middle of ours.
Yeah.
Hey.
There he is. And there's that voice. And it is that we have a first time guest here. We had a run of, 2-timers, 3-timers. We had our first ever 6-timer when Scally came back on the pod recently. But here we are with a first time guest. He is here in the crematorium all the way from Australia, dealing with a 16-hour time difference, dealing with technical difficulties, but we still made it work. I have long said, Brendan, that I've said that I met him back in my Albany days, and I said he was the Albany version of Brendan Ruppel himself.
Wow.
So, two sides of the same coin meeting for the first time. It is Timbray Shafer. Timbray, how
Hello.
are you?
I'm doing great. I'm honored to meet the other side of this coin. I didn't know existed.
I didn't know either.
Yeah,
Wow.
and I'm a first timer not only to this podcast, but to podcasts in general, and also to Gossip Girl. This episode, Rhodes to Perdition, is the only episode I've ever seen in my life.
And what a fun one to jump into. You're a bunch of firsts here. Yeah, and when I say that, I long said that you were the Albany version of Brendan Ruppel. I did not tell anyone this.
Just in
no
your
one,
head?
No one would know what I was talking about. I just told myself. I guess I could have told Ganesh.
There's some people
probably.
I know from Albany.
Yeah. And because you have visited Albany before, Brendan, but
Yeah, no
Timbray,
crossover with
my
us.
friendship with Timbray was kind of past your time. Once you started getting bored of Albany and you stopped visiting, then I started
I was tired of
branching out.
sleeping on 2 desks pushed together in the common room.
Which was your bed when you would come to visit.
Yeah.
So I was like the replacement.
Exactly. I needed to find a replacement. I held auditions.
Like, here's your bed, the 2 desks. What do you think?
and here we are. But yes, so you kind of alluded to this already, Timbray, but I will ask you what I ask all of our first-time guests, which is, what is your Gossip Girl history? Now, you said this was your first ever episode watching, so, I mean, that means you didn't watch it before. What was going on? What's your history with the show? Why didn't you watch it? Have you seen like any of it at all? Have you heard of anything? I know my friends in Albany were watching it. They got me into it. So it missed the boat with you somehow. What's your story?
It's hard to make it through life without knowing of it, but I was not too much of a TV fanatic. I grew up with like 12 channels, and my parents would harp at me if I spent too long in front of the tube.
You sound like a Gen Xer right now.
Yeah. I think I was a Gen Xer, born too late. I was excited because I recognized the name Blair Waldorf, and I was like, oh, this is someone I've heard being talked about. But I think in my mind, like Gossip Girl and Gilmore Girls were the same show. So it was exciting to sort of like be like, oh, this is what Gossip Girl is. And it doesn't have any of those people that I've seen on like posters for Gilmore Girls or whatever.
I mean, to this day, my boss at work, he'll be like, "Oh, what podcast you do last night?" I'm like, "Oh, Lonely Boys." Like, "Oh, how's Gilmore Girls going?" I'm like, "No, you fucking idiot.
You fucking
piece,
idiot!
you
I
piece
quit.
of shit. I need a raise now."
Yeah, and funny you say that because I was talking to a student today, and she somehow knows that I have a Gossip Girl podcast, which is not good because I've long said that if any student hears this podcast, I will have to quit my job. And I
think
told
you'll be
her
fired
not.
first,
I told her
honestly.
not to look into it. I said don't look up the podcast because I will quit if you find it. But I asked her if she ever watched Gossip Girl, and she was like, "No, I've never even watched Gilmore Girls." And I was like, "Not the same
Not
thing."
related.
What do
Were
you
they
mean? I've
airing
never
at
even.
the same time?
So no, actually, there's no crossover because Gilmore Girls runs from 2000 to 2007, and then Gossip Girl picks up in the fall of 2007 and runs until 2012. So Gilmore Girls ended, and then the new girl in town, Gossip Girl, started up that very next TV season.
There you go.
And that's TV History
facts.
Corner with Professor Gagan.
Yeah, I had no idea.
Yeah, if you want dates for TV shows, I'm your guy. Mutual friend of all of us, friend of the podcast, Sean Gallagher, loved making his own like trivia things, trying to stump people. And there was a whole category where it was like dates of TV shows and like which show came first or which show ended first. And I was fucking knocking those out of the park. That's all I know. I'm just.
I don't.
How wide is your range? Like, are you confident you could hit on most mainstream American television shows?
That is interesting. So I guess like it'll start to get. I mean, it obviously lines up with my interests. So I've watched some shows from the 80s, 90s, so I can do a lot of those. But then when it gets kind of recently, when there's just so many shows, like the 2010s might be a mess because there are so many shows. They all last for like 3 seasons. They're all like 12 episodes over the course of 3 seasons, and then Netflix cancels all of them. And so it'd be very hard to.
Yeah, the teens would be very
pick out
tough.
those.
Like, oh, did this show start in 2014 or 2015? Like, who the hell knows?
Yes, yeah. So, Timbray, you've seen one episode of Gossip Girl now, right?
One episode, yes.
Based on the one episode you've seen, do you have a favorite and least favorite character of the show?
Ooh, well, there were sort of like 4 separate plots going on at the same time.
As is the case usually with Gossip Girl. We have our 4 plot lines.
Okay, and is there much interaction between? I'm assuming all the characters at some point will interact with each other.
Yes, yeah, but
Sometimes they all
like,
do kind of connect. So it's sort of rare.
Sometimes the episodes that we love, there's these special episodes where they kind of all get together and kind of like have to take down some kind of outside force. Those are the best. Those are the best ones. But yeah, they all know each other. They are not all friends with each other, although they've been making some friends with as we get late in the show's run, we are trying out new things, new friendships.
Yeah, the main characters are finally friends in season 5. Amazingly.
So yeah, there can be crossover depending on what storylines service. And if you have any questions throughout the episode, feel free to ask. I love educating the new Gossip Girl watchers.
All right. I feel like, I did a little bit of research. I had to piece a few things together as the episode went on. But I think the central character of this episode, who was pretty interesting, was this Charlie/Ivy figure,
Yeah.
Is that your favorite character?
I don't know. I was really intrigued by, I think his name, I took some notes here. I think his name is Chuck.
Ah, yes. He is a very intriguing
He'll
character.
get you.
An interesting persona.
Yeah. For people that've never watched it, it is like I've never seen anything like that on television before.
No one in
It doesn't make
the
any
world.
sense.
No one in the world talks like Chuck Bass talks. I've long said that.
He gave me like an old Hollywood sort of feel.
Yes,
like,
yeah.
He had that like Robert De Niro, Clint
Yeah.
Eastwoody squint sort of thing going on. and
Really,
then,
really out of place in terms of 21st century.
And you caught him at a time where he's not doing anything problematic either. Where usually he is. He's a nice Chuck right now.
Yeah, he's good, Chuck.
I
Guys was
got
flagged
the
up.
sense
Yeah.
that, he was reformed
Yes.
by this point in the series.
Anyone jump out to you in a negative light? Maybe perhaps a least favorite character that you had.
I got a sense that those Rhodes daughters, the daughters of Cece, were a bit shady.
Oh.
I didn't get to
Lily and
see a
Carol.
lot
Don't
of
talk
them.
about Lily like
Wow.
that in front of Brendan. That's Brendan's girl.
Don't. Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry.
That's.
I didn't get good first impression.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
I mean,
he doesn't know the whole picture. I'll give him a pass. He's
Carol
new
for
here.
sure. Carol. What
Yeah.
happened to Carol back? She was so cool back in the day.
She was so cool back in the day.
Well,
I know it's about Carol. Real quick before we begin.
I feel like
she's got a weird like mouth purse going on. Like she can't really close her mouth. It's like she's kind of always like this and showing her teeth a little bit, and I don't like it. And I'm glad I could do this now. And
right
now, God please go to the YouTube and see what I'm doing and see if I'm doing a good enactment of.
If you're listening, if you're audio only right now, pause the podcast, go to the YouTube. Watch the first 10 minutes till Brendan gets up to his teeth.
Oh, yeah, he is doing the teeth thing, right? Then go back, yeah.
Ignore my posture. All right, without further ado, let's get into the episode. The episode title is Rhodes to Perdition. Brendan, this is your time to shine. Do you have any idea what this title is referencing?
No. I don't think I even know what the word perdition means, honestly.
Okay.
I mean, I'm going to leave it as it is, though, to be safe, because with the title in front of me, it's spelled like Rhodes, their last name, so I can see the change just being Rhodes to the actual, like, the word Rhodes.
Okay, so you're going to say...
Rhodes to Perdition.
Okay. Brendan, you were so close.
No!
It references the 2002 film Road, singular, to Perdition.
Man.
And I'm sorry, I cannot give that to you. So you are a little bit of a losing
streak now.
You know,
after Googling Perdition, I should know it would only be one road. You don't need multiple roads to get to Perdition.
Yeah, it's not like an all roads lead to Rome type of thing. And not
all roads
do not lead to Perdition. That should have been your guess.
Yeah.
So you are now dipping below 500. You are 4 for 9. But remember, you got up to a historically slow start last season, and you made a big comeback. So anything is still possible here.
I'm annoyed that I haven't made over the years like a pluralization clause where I get like a side point, and if I get 3 side points over the course of the season, that adds up to one full.
What do you think? Come on.
Because I'm so close. I have to deserve some credit.
Come on. Original air date of the episode, November 28th, 2011. So we are at the end of November here, and we are going to start with a Gossip Girl voiceover. Remember, last week was when her sources got leaked, so everyone is still scared to message into Gossip Girl right now. So she hasn't received any new tips since the security breach, but she's still doing her voiceover work. Kristen Bell is still here, and Lily and Charlie are getting ready for the Studio 54 anniversary party because it is in Cece's honor. And Bianca Jagger's. Lily plans on not telling Cece that last part until she arrives, but Cece is here and she is already aware of it. I didn't know that Cece Rhodes and Bianca Jagger had a rivalry.
Yeah, I had no idea. I'm happy it's there though.
Yeah, yes. So Cece is back, and Lily is very happy to see her. Cece also very excited to see Charlotte. She says that New York agrees with her, and she looks fabulous, which amazing that no one knows what the real Charlie looks like. It is incredible. Grandma will even say later, like, I know my granddaughter.
I saw when you were born.
I saw you. Timbray, you were able to tell that this is a kind of, they mention it in the episode. This is an imposter pretending to be granddaughter Charlotte. How incredible is it that no one in the family recognizes that this is an imposter?
Pretty incredible. How long has it been since they've seen the real?
We don't really know, do we?
So she resurfaced at the end of season 4. So she's been in the picture since, the end of season 4. But it had been, I guess, since she was a baby, since the last time they saw her, because famously Carol took her and took her away from the family, didn't want to associate with the Rhodes anymore. Right. So no one has seen her in quite some time. I guess, no one has seen Facebook pictures of her. No one has seen anything. I guess she really made
in the modern age this wouldn't fly, but I guess in 2000.
I mean, Facebook was still a thing back then. This is 2011.
I guess throughout her life, there weren't pictures being taken in the early aughts.
But yes, so Carol, we know, is also in on this. She is pretending that this is the real Charlotte as well, as she would, I guess, be the only one that would be able to say no, she's an imposter. I know my daughter.
Yeah, but honestly, if anyone in the family looks like an imposter, it's Carol. Everyone else looks like they belong in this family. Even Lily to Cece, Nicole mentioned, she's like, I know you've seen this woman before, but they really look like they could be mother-daughter.
Yeah, they do. And then put Serena in there. They all look like incredible casting all around here.
Yeah.
And then Carol is just sticking out like a sore thumb.
Like a weird fundraiser for a local play.
Wait. Oh, then sorry. You can hear me, right?
Oh, very well.
Yeah. Okay, great. Okay, sorry about that.
Did you fart into your word? We heard it on mic.
That is not what happened. I was used to not to peek behind the curtain. I was used to how Discord tells me instantly that I am talking, and Google Meet did not give me the same courtesy.
So nothing to do. It was not a.
I am now riddled with guilt.
It was not. No. We don't even have to. Brendan, cut this. Strike this from the pod. Cut this.
This was the first episode of Only Was ever to not be used on Discord, thanks to Timbray.
That's not true. We've done Facebook calls before.
Second episode.
So Cece plans on wearing her platinum jumpsuit to impress Ryan O'Neal, who is a widower now. I don't know who Ryan O'Neal is, but according to my research on Wikipedia, he apparently just died like a couple of weeks ago.
Oh.
Yeah, so
now,
RIP to Ryan O'Neal.
His wife's also a widower.
Okay, yes, his dead wife is now also a widower.
Right. Makes sense to me.
Posthumous widowdom.
Retroactively widowed. So Lily asked Cece, what about Carol? Cece did not invite her. All she needs is Lily and her 2 favorite granddaughters. And so they do not expect Carol to be showing up, but of course we know that Carol will be here. Serena and Max are back from their date. They spent 24 hours in the city that never sleeps, and Serena thinks that is going to make for an amazing blog post, which is interesting because I'm falling asleep just thinking about it. This is Serena's big blog that's attracting so many readers. She's writing, "Oh, we went to New York City. We did all the tourist attractions. It's so good." And everyone's like, "Get the fuck out of here." Nate, fire this girl.
Fire. No, it's gaining traction, though. It's very interesting.
No, Diana's not in charge anymore. Nate, fire Serena.
This is the world where blog posts are just written now. This is not the world where she's following herself around with her phone on selfie cam where you could see it happening and she could talk into it. It's just she's recanting her entire night via text essentially. And I don't think Serena's a good writer by any means. So this is probably it was a boring night, and she probably told the story even more boring than what was actually going on. Sounds horrible.
I like Serena refers to Max as country boy, even though he's from Miami. She's turning into Blair a little bit. Everyone outside of New York is a hick.
He's from the South. Geographically.
So they're reminiscing about the day that they just had as if it was the most spectacular thing in the world. And of course, Serena is so smitten again. Timbray, one thing you'll learn about Serena Vanderwoodson is that it does not take much for her to fall for a guy, fall head over heels and drop her entire world for a guy. So you are seeing this in action right now.
I got the sense they referred to her having past relationships with, I think, 3 different guys in the episode.
Yeah, I'm sure everyone that appears on the screen, I'm sure, has been in a relationship with Serena at some point.
I got that sense. Yeah.
It was funny. If they didn't talk about that later in the episode, Timbray would have been like, "Oh, these two have been dating for a long time now." The way they come into this room, it looks like they're just they've been dating for years or months.
Yeah, and they've known each other for, a solid week. But she'd love to show Max more of the city, but she has that thing at Studio 54 where her grandma is the guest of honor. And Serena promised she'd pick up the cake, but Max is appalled. Why would she trust an anonymous baker when she has a master chef in the form of Max? And maybe if they had been dating for more than a week, she would have gone to him, of course. But, she barely knows him, so that could be why. Max wants Serena to be her sous chef for the afternoon, but Serena's just interested in covering themselves in flour and licking spoons and other cute things.
Yeah.
How cute would that be? Serena and Max just covering themselves in flour and licking spoons together.
So cute. Sounds really cute.
That's another blog post just waiting.
That's what I think. Is she just living for the blog right now?
Yeah, so good for them. They're gonna do lots of cute things like lick spoons together.
But they don't end up doing that. Spoiler alert.
No.
Thank God.
Gonna happen. Not that though. Rufus returns to the loft. He's pleased to see Dan writing again. He asks if it's his sophomore novel or a short story, but it turns out that Dan is just replying to all the haters, and he's complaining that when you kill 1, 3 more just pop up in their place like cockroaches. This is such a funny idea.
It is really funny. He's like, "Well, what, you were starting your next novel?" He's like, "No, I'm just responding to Reddit comments."
I love the idea that Dan has been spending his day just replying to his own haters because, this is obviously what Dan would be spending all of his time doing.
It's very valid.
Timbray, as a fellow author, are you always furiously writing messages back and forth to your haters?
Well, in order to have haters, you need to have readers. So I don't have this problem.
Listen,
necessarily.
Timbray, we are going to create a hate account for you.
I have Timbray Hater locked up on Twitter. Don't worry.
At Timbray Hater, we're also going to do at I Love Timbray so that you guys can go back.
This is actually a funny bit. I would do this for you.
We are going to get Katy Perry to retweet us.
I bet she probably has 9 million X followers.
You're going to be flying off the shelves. You'll be number 9 on the bestsellers list in no time.
Incredible. Yeah, I didn't know that joining this podcast would lead to my explosion.
You
of
should have
an
known.
This episode gave us a foolproof plan. I mean, if it works for Dan Humphrey, why can't it work for you?
I really enjoyed how he seemed to think it was less cringy or pathetic when he was in disguise as a different account. That was like his justification for doing it.
Yeah.
He's like, no, he's like, no.
I'm in character.
Alter ego.
Yeah.
I'm doing it as my alter ego Dan fan. Yeah, Rufus can't believe that he's being the person who fights every negative review on Amazon. I'd be surprised if Dan wasn't doing that. I feel like Rufus is also the type of person that would be doing that. What do you mean Lincoln Hawk sucks? Lincoln Hawk, number 9 most remembered band of the 90s.
Lincoln Hawk, Plymouth Rocks.
That's what I call Plymouth Rock. Rufus actually does something decent here, and he closes Dan's laptop. He stood idly by while Dan crashed bridal showers, drunkenly, I might add, and skipped his book tour. But this is where Rufus draws the line, and he tells Dan that he's still got a bright future to look forward to, and to go the fuck outside. And he also expects Dan to be at Cece's party tonight. Dan does not make it to Cece's party tonight, right?
No, I guess he doesn't.
They don't even make it to Cece's party. No one makes it to Cece's party.
Yeah, when you were just telling us like what was supposed to happen this episode and going to Studio 54, I was like, wait a second. Studio 54 looks a lot like the the penthouse.
It's one of those classic nights where you never end up leaving the pregame. You're having so much fun at the pregame.
I mean, I do like those. That's fun.
Yeah, you never end up going. You never end up going out. We never got to our event of the week this week. A rarity for Gossip Girl.
I mean, this is one of my issues. I think I said it last week, and it's been like confirmed this week. I feel like they are really either they're losing out on budget or they just don't care as much anymore because these end of episode events are getting sadder and sadder every week now at this point.
That could be it. Yeah, they didn't even make it to this the one this week. Like shit, we didn't allot enough budget for this. Cece will pass out and they're just I don't know.
I missed the fact that there was somewhere else they were supposed to go. So
I
was
forgot too.
Expecting this grand event, and then at the end of the episode, I'm like, this is just 9 people in a room, like with bad disco lights. What the heck?
I mean, no wonder Cece's the guest of honor. No one else is there.
Yeah.
I was gonna say this. Aside from it being a sad event, this is like sad for Cece that no one wanted to show up to her thing.
She doesn't even go to her own thing.
Yeah.
Everyone was probably there waiting for her. Ryan O'Neal was probably like, "Where's Cece?"
This is like one of the rare episodes we don't have like a real.
That's what I was saying.
A ball or anything like that. That's kind of crazy.
The rare like we don't see the event of the week. So Gossip Girl hasn't gotten any tips in a while because, of course, of the famous source leak of 2011. But she's still somehow reporting on Dan Humphrey. She seems to be spending her time looking at the message boards and reporting that people hate Lonely Boy just as much as they hate her. Her favorite account, of course, is at I Hate Humphrey. And I Hate Humphrey's tweets are pretty inspired. Some examples here. A voice of our generation, BRB, going to barf, then to find a new generation to be a part of. Okay, solid.
Okay.
Next up we have Humphrey should have wanted to remain anonymous, save himself the embarrassment of writing such a deplorable book. And then Dylan Hunter is not Holden Caulfield. He is not Neil Klugman. He's not even Stingo. Give me a break. This guy's going really hard.
This guy, I'm going to have to use some of these for our new account. Timbray Shafer, the voice of a generation. BRB going to bar.
So Blair is sending thank you notes, finally getting to Blair in this episode. She doesn't want to send thank you notes for a blender because she does not look like the type of girl that makes margaritas. And Dorota asks if she heard anything from Louis, but luckily for Timbray, you got a Louis-free week. You did not need to see the mess of a man that is Louis. Mm-hmm. Of course, he's doing missionary work with Father Cavalia in some nation without plumbing.
Sounds very sexual.
Remember the random priest who had a thing with Beatrice? We finally going to revisit this? No, we're not going to see.
No.
So just going to mention him again. Okay, maybe we'll get back to that. Maybe we won't. But Blair confirms that the wedding is still on and that she still loves Louis. She just wants to marry the sweet prince who returned her slipper and made her believe in fairy tales and not whatever the fuck he is now.
Yeah.
It is crazy how far Louis has fallen, and he wasn't even that great to begin with.
No, it's also crazy that she still seems like she's fully on board to marry the guy. She's like, no, I still want to marry him. Of course I do. I'm waiting for him to turn back to the guy I love. It'll happen.
Every time I think we're getting closer to being done with this guy, they just reset for whatever reason. Like at the beginning of that next episode, it's the stupid writer switch every episode. When they switch writers, they're like, let's bring Louis back.
And then we go back to like, I can't believe how good Chuck still is. Oh my God, there must be something wrong with him. How did he get this good? We've done that for 5 episodes in a row too.
We have. So Dorota suggests that maybe Louie and Chuck Freaky Friday'd. I appreciate the suggestion because, as you know, I love a Freaky Friday.
But let's get an actual Freaky Friday and don't just like
let's
mention
do
it.
it. Stop
really
teasing me with a Freaky Friday and just do it already. I mean, they could not have Freaky Friday because that would mean that Louie would have to be far more interesting than he is.
Yeah, that's true. He's got nothing.
So, Dorota also suggests that Louie and Chuck either got struck by lightning at the same time or peed in the same fountain. I never knew that peeing in the same fountain as someone could cause a Freaky Friday, but I am down to try.
Yeah. I don't know if I've done that. I don't think I've peed in a fountain. I'm picturing like the Friends fountain is what she's talking about.
Right. Yes.
Definitely never done that. I wouldn't pee in a fountain.
I've never really peed in a fountain, let alone the same fountain as someone else at the same time.
I mean, we went to Albany. There were plenty of
There was a lot of fountains that we had peed in, yeah.
I think the only time I would pee in a fountain is if I saw someone doing it. So it would be either pee in a fountain together or not at all.
Right. You don't want to be the one person who pees in a fountain.
No. Unless you're hoping someone joins you.
That's what you're known as. You're the person who pees in the fountain, unless someone joins you.
Yeah.
And then it's like, remember that time we all peed in the fountain? And we all Freaky Friday'd with each other?
Do you think peeing in do you think the fountain is an essential factor, or do you just have, like, would crossing streams have the same effect?
No, I've done that many, many times, and I'm still, unfortunately, just me.
Yeah, I think it has to be a fountain.
Yeah.
Let's get to Nate. He's having a faculty meeting. His first faculty meeting as the brand new 20-year-old editor-in-chief of The Spectator. Now, I can't believe everyone isn't just like laughing in his face, but we do know that the one thing that Nate is actually good at is making speeches and winning over a crowd. So I guess this makes sense. I know I'm the new kid around here. I'm going to make some mistakes. I just want you guys to know that I'm not going to resort to the kind of dirty tactics that Diana used. The Spectator only publishes truth. And yeah, sex sells, but if the story involves scandals, it needs to be verified. We have an opportunity to do things differently here. So I'm around if anyone has any stories you'd like to pitch. Thanks. So Nate doesn't want The Spectator to be a tabloid magazine after all, I guess. And if I was any of these employees, I'd be like, hi, yeah. Hey, Nate, how's it going? Why the fuck did your grandpa just buy this paper and make his kid grandson in charge?
No,
because I wanted to do it on my own. So now I'm doing it on my own because my grandpa bought the company and made me in charge. That's how I'm doing things on my own now.
When did this show also become like a half newspaper drama?
Season 5.
It's a different show. It's a different show. I don't know what we're watching anymore.
It's what we're going with. Yeah, we have political thrillers, newspaper dramas. So one of Nate's employees immediately comes to him with a lead on a famous congressman's wife having an affair, and Nate's like really into his role. He asks for a new angle, tells her to dig deeper, but before she does, she wants Nate to know that the congressman is our old friend Trip Vanderbilt, who, as you remember, we last saw crashing a car and leaving Serena behind bloodied and picking her up and switching her over to the driver's seat to make it look like she had crashed the car and he fled the scene. That was the last time we saw
move.
Trip.
It is a good move.
This is Nate's cousin Trip, who I'm sure, I don't know if you picked up on the fact that they were cousins. Nate is very involved in his family, at least, is a very political family, the Vanderbilts.
Yeah, I picked up. They mentioned it.
Yeah,
that they were cousins. They did not mention that crash though.
No,
I would have loved to watch that episode.
That's a good episode. That's a good episode.
Pretty cold blooded.
That's a wild one.
That's what I'm missing. I'm missing car crashes. Maybe I think I've been asking for a shooting to happen in one of these episodes at some point. Not like someone needs to get shot or like stabbed or
Chuck got shot in the season 3 finale. Remember, he turned into Henry. He got shot and turned into Henry.
How long has that been? That's been a while. I need
How many
more
gunshots do you want?
I don't know, but I think I'll save my thoughts for the end of the episode. But I can see somebody dying this season, and I hope somebody does.
Okay.
I really hope
You're saving who you want to die for the end of the episode, or?
I don't say I want them to die, but I want anyone to die. But I think it's going to be a specific person that I will save for the end of the episode.
That reveal. Yeah. Okay, so stay tuned for the end of the episode, everyone. Brendan will reveal.
And I have it written on my belly, and I'll show the YouTube viewers. So check out that.
Ivy's sitting at a diner. Max walks in and asks for his money. Ivy says she's working on it. She can't just draw $500,000 from the bank. And Max tells her that if she's lying, he got himself an insurance policy. In fact, he's dating her. And then he hits her with the Serena Vanderwoodson. Ever hear of her? Love a good ever hear of her. I will give Max that. That's always Charlie, shocked, says he can't do that, but it is too late. And unless he gets the money soon, one of their dates will include revelations of who Charlie really is. And he takes out his trusty jizz-stained playbill and asks Charlie
It looks stickier than last episode.
If he should show
Sopping
Serena
wet.
Yeah, he asked if he should show Serena the playbill that he always keeps in his pocket before or after the caviar. Now, we all know why he always keeps that playbill in his pocket, and it's not for blackmail. He's incriminating himself even.
I want to cut forward to the scene we didn't see where Carol finds the playbill in his coat, and it's just she's just like oh my god.
So, Timbray, last week, Max was able to find out that Charlie was kind of lying. I won't go into but because he was able to recognize that Carol was not actually her mom, because he recognized her from this random playbill that he had in Ivy's apartment, which is insane. And I think the only way, my theory is the only way he could know this for sure is because when Ivy was gone, he had a lot of long nights and he spent a lot of time jerking off to this playbill. And so that's why he has seen Carol's pictures so many times. The only way. He's like, I'd recognize her anywhere.
Because it really wasn't even his. This was Charlie's that he just knew she had in her possessions, and he knew exactly where to find it.
Yeah, it's a bit far-fetched, unless, I mean, my theory is the only thing that makes sense, I think.
I agree.
Yeah, it's the natural course of action.
Sorry to get so blue on the podcast. So
we're just telling how it is.
So, Ivy says she just needs time, leave Serena out of it, but Max says he's having fun. And the more Serena likes him, the more she'll trust him when he tells her that Charlie Rhodes is just a white trash wannabe named Ivy Dickens. I don't know. He doesn't have to be so cruel.
Well, he's evil now. He turned evil last episode.
We find out about like Ivy's background later in the episode. Like he's being so cruel, knowing that she did grow up in a trailer park and her dad like overdosed in front of her. Yeah. And he's like, "You're a white trash wannabe." Like, man.
Now all of a sudden he has the opportunity for a lot of money. He's like, I fucking hate Charlie. I love money.
So Ivy tells Max not to let Lily see, because then, she'd tell Serena about their history and Serena will get suspicious. And Max says not to worry. He's not going to risk financial security for brunch with the in-laws. And like you said, he's trying to be this supervillain, but I feel like he just comes off as a whiny bitch.
Yeah. He is dating Serena. So that's kind of like where he's going to fall. He's going to fall into that lane, unfortunately.
Yeah. And for everyone who dates Serena has to be like
he's definitely not the worst boyfriend she's had by any stretch, especially the last one. It has been a little while since she's had a person to date, which has been nice. It's been a nice break, and we've actually enjoyed some episodes with her recently because of that. He's handsome. She usually actually dates pretty ugly guys, so I'll give him that too. So comparatively, he's not the worst.
Yeah, I mean he's a bad person now in this episode, but Max leaves. Yeah. Max leaves and Ivy calls Mommy Carol and tells her that Max is dating Serena and they have to pay him off immediately. But Carol has some bad news of her own. They don't have any money. She just came from the bank and someone added a security measure to her account. Any withdrawal over $50,000 requires Cece's signature, which she will never agree to. So they need to make Cece think that it's her idea. And the problem with that is Charlie barely knows her, and Cece isn't talking to Carol and also hates her. So Carol's like, all right, you keep Serena away from Max. I'll handle my mother. And now a couple episodes, Carol was like, listen, you do what you want to do. I wash my hands of this.
That's going to be my question. Was like, why is she so willing to help Ivy do whatever she needs to do to stay off?
Yeah, she wants some money of her own, I guess.
Right. So now that it's locked, especially, she's like, well, you can help me unlock this. We can both get a little bit of quiche.
And she also doesn't want Ivy to get caught, because then she has some explaining to do.
Right. Okay, that makes sense.
But she did recently say, like, I'm done with this. You're on your own, kid. But now she's right back in it again.
You always have been.
You always have been. Mm-hmm. So Cece's getting ready for her big night. Carol comes in, all smiles, promises that she's here to reconstruct and has nothing but good vibes for her family. She keeps it light. She's like, oh, I hope my invite just got lost in the mail. And I love Cece's response, where she's like, it's a lovely thought, but it wasn't. So what do you want? It's not even entertaining. Not even entertaining. Cece's got some great one-liners in this episode. I will give it to her.
Yeah, she does.
Cece's great. She's back to her old ways.
Yep, she's back to being like where Lily came from. She's original Lily.
Yeah, effortlessly just tearing people down.
Yeah.
So Carol claims she wants forgiveness, admits to making mistakes in trying to protect Charlie, but she wants them to trust her that Charlie's forgiven her and they're closer than ever. And then Lily with another zinger. Funny, she lives with me and this is the first time hearing it. These Rhodes women, they just kill it.
It really does. This has been their entire lives. All they know is how to be wealthy and have insane takedowns.
Yeah, Timbray hates the Rhodes women, but we appreciate them for their zingers at least.
They're great singers.
I liked Grandma Rhodes. She was
Oh
cool.
yeah, Cece's a great one. So Carol's hoping the Studio 54 party can get the Rhodes girls back together. She can't even muster up enough fake excitement to convince me, but she's trying her best. And Cece begrudgingly allows this as well, and she will not allow any outbursts because she wants to be the center of attention tonight, as she should be. And Carol promises and goes to get the flowers that she bought over in some water. So that is the plan. Everyone's going to be on their best behavior, and Cece's going to be the center of attention tonight.
Yeah, as she should be. It's her night, and I love that from someone who just knows what they want. Like, I want to be. It's my night. Make sure it stays my night. It's all about me.
Serena's blogging. Charlie asks how she's working when they have a date to discuss, and Serena mentions Max and their city date. And Charlie does a wonderful job playing dumb and asking if, is this the same Max that stood you up? And Serena's like, yeah, but if I didn't give him a second chance, we wouldn't have seen how great he is. And they are spending the day baking Cece a cake. And she says, is that not the sweetest thing you've ever heard? It really doesn't take much to impress Serena.
Just showing up for the date is all it takes. No matter how many times you blow her off, just show up one time and she'll be like, oh, he's so nice.
We're baking a cake. He never even explained why he stood her up. He just said, that was a misunderstanding. And she was like, oh, heavens, okay. Let's bake a cake.
Yeah, that's when he finally did show up, he like broke into her house too.
Yes, he was just in her house. Red flags all over the place. So Charlie says, if he hadn't stood you up already, like she starts to try and talk Serena out of being in love with this guy. And Serena's confused because she's like, you're the one who told us to date. But Charlie's like, I just meant for your blog, and your blog, bona fide success now. No one, your blog's the hottest thing in the country. So, you don't need to fall back into your old habits of dating loser men. And Serena's like, oh, Max couldn't be further from the guys I've dated. And I feel mostly just because he's poor. Like, there's no difference between him and the other guy.
Wasn't the last guy she dated? He was poor, I guess.
Who was the last guy she dated?
The jailbird.
Jeez, man. The convicted... the convict was the last person she dated?
I think so, yeah.
Wow. The last person she dated, Timbray, was her old English teacher who went to jail for having an inappropriate relationship with her.
Yikes.
Yeah, correct.
So
correct response.
A step up.
Honestly, yeah. But I was watching this conversation between Charlie and Serena and thinking, like, I'm glad that Charlie has this relationship with her, because if this was Blair trying to say these things to Serena, she would just get so pissed off and storm out of the room. But Charlie seemingly can say the same thing that Blair will say about every relationship of Serena's, and it actually gets through to her somehow.
Yeah. Well, they're family, of course.
Family.
Yeah, blood. So, Charlie won't stop. She's like, wasn't he in town finding her ex-girlfriend? Finding his ex-girlfriend? What's her name again? Ivy something? Never met her, but she sounds great. And Serena's like, oh yeah, I forgot. He flew across the country to find his ex-girlfriend. So all of a sudden now Serena agrees that 2 dates in 2 days is too fast, and it's better to leave him wanting more. So she's going to cancel the date. A success for Charlie. One of many successes for Charlie in this episode. She's
crushing it. She
has a really good episode. And so Serena has to reorder the cake now, and Charlie has to go get Cece's eyeshadow. So that's their new plans for the day.
So when Charlie brings up the fact that this guy Max flew all the way across the country to find his ex-girlfriend. Later on, I don't know. It doesn't seem like something you would touch on, so I'm just going to bring it up now. But Max is like, I only came back to give her stuff back. Like,
yeah.
And Serena's like, oh, really? Oh, that makes sense. Like, so you flew across the entire country to give her a box of her shit?
You flew from California to New York to give Ivy stuff back?
Mail existed back then, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I think so.
And just knew where she worked for some reason and was just standing outside of the building asking random people if they knew Ivy Dickens.
I didn't even know it was that far. I thought he just knew she was in New York, the state, and just showed up in the city. He was like, oh, I'll keep walking around with the box and maybe I'll bump into her, which works in this show sometimes.
Well, usually, small island like Manhattan, you're bad to bump into anyone. Chucky's doing yoga or something at the Empire, and Blair enters confused and hits him with a namaste. And she thinks he's just trying to get with a girl, but instead an old monk-type yoga instructor comes in, and now Blair's even more confused. Blair has no choice but to tell Chuck that his transformation is astounding and asked how he gave up his bad bass ways. He went from Charlie Sheen to Charlie Brown, from bar to mitzvah, And Chuck has no answer. It's just an evolution. And so he asked Blair what's really going on, and Blair's like, "Oh, all right, if you must know," as if she wasn't the one who showed up here and started interrogating him. And she explains to Chuck that she's trying to figure out how Chuck became good so she can pull Louie out of the darkness. And I don't know if telling Chuck that Louie is a terrible person is the best idea, but Blair is willing to wait all day for answers from him.
Yeah. I would like to see Charlie Sheen play a live-action Charlie Brown. I think that'd be a good reboot to the series. I don't know any other characters, actually, I think, besides just Charlie Brown. I was going to give you some more examples.
Peppermint Patty.
That's the main girl?
No, Lucy.
Lucy's the main girl with the football.
Yeah, yes. Linus.
Is he the stinky guy?
No, he's the guy
There's
that
a
has
blanket
the
Pigsty is the stinky guy, right?
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Oh, it says the call is going to end in 15 minutes. That's not good.
Okay. We'll have to, I guess, close out and open back up.
Yeah, I guess so. I did not know. I will make editing a little fun for you.
Oh,
I did not know there was a limit on these, but good to know. Good to know for the future. That's all right. There won't be a problem if we just start up a new one.
I think that should be fine. I think we've done that before.
We'll take a halftime intermission when this when this stops. All right. So businessman Nate is in his office. Grandfather's here. He loved meeting the new staff. He says that Jared Kushner better watch his back. So they love these. They love these shout-outs.
They really do. Every couple episodes.
Before Grandfather leaves, though, there's something Nate needs to tell him. One of his reporters received a tip that Maureen is cheating on Trip. I don't know if Nate should have told. I mean, I guess it makes sense, but I feel like, Nate's the boss, baby. He can do whatever he wants. It is the considerate thing to do, but it is Grandfather, so Grandfather's going to try to control it a little. And he thinks there must be some mistake because Maureen is a devoted wife and even stuck through Trip through that Serena incident. And Nate assures him that they're obviously going to verify everything, but Grandfather's like, "Are you really going to consider running it?" And Nate says that the information's already out there, so if we don't, someone else will. And look at Nate already playing the part of the ruthless editor businessman. But he's not wrong though.
No, yeah, I mean, he does want this to succeed, even though this is like a field that he never expected to be a part of and has no passion for. But all of a sudden, now he's in charge. He does have a passion for it. He wants to do the right thing, and I guess he's good at this.
Passion comes out of nowhere. Yeah, so does the skill of being an editor.
Yeah.
And Grandfather, is telling him that it's a family affair, and he's like, "Yeah, but it's also a public one." And also crazy that just last week the Spectator was trying to be the next Gossip Girl, and now it's this hard-hitting, investigative journalism.
Yeah, I was gonna bring that up too. This was supposed to be almost like a gossip version of Twitter, with just it seemed like 140 characters. So you get, but now it's all of a sudden a full-blown paper.
They really shifted forces once Diana got out of there.
I guess so. I guess we're used to just writing tweets, but you got to write 2-page articles now.
We are investigative reporters now.
Yeah.
And so it's also their chance to prove to the public that the Spectator is fair and balanced. And Nate confidently tells Grandfather that everyone will be better off if the Spectator runs this story. Is Nate just a natural at this?
I guess so. I mean, sure, he didn't get there on his own, but he just needed the fake confidence boost. Just one of those things. He just needed to be in the right position of power.
Yeah,
I guess.
So
this would also be, what would this look like though if he was bad at it? Like, do we have a whole plotline where Nate's just stepping on his own feet and is like a big idiot? That sounds funny.
Yeah. I love that storyline. Yeah.
Okay.
Grandfather begrudgingly agrees that he doesn't want this in the hands of the Post, so he lets out a big sigh, and Nate tells him that he won't run anything before he talks to Trip. So Nate's evolution into a top dog newspaper businessman has really been instant and sudden, but here we are.
Yeah. The one through line through all of it is that he's always a good guy. He's a good guy, Nate, through and through.
Nate, baby.
He may have varying interests that make no sense. He used to like lacrosse, I think.
He did. Yeah, he played lacrosse.
Now he likes newspapers.
Supposedly, he's still in college. Remember, we haven't discussed that these people have dropped out of college. They all should still be in college as juniors in college. But apparently, Nate has time to have a full-time job as a newspaper editor while also playing college lacrosse for Columbia.
Yeah.
Blair's married. She's supposedly still at Columbia as well.
Is Chuck in school?
Chuck never went to school.
No, he never went to school. That makes sense. He doesn't really have a job anymore either. I think
every
time if you've seen Chuck all season long, he's just in his penthouse, just hanging out.
Dan's supposed to be at NYU. He's writing a book.
Or now
Did Serena drop out of Columbia again?
That would make the most sense. I feel like she might never have went back the semester.
He's busy writing a blog. everyone's just adults now, even though they still should be in college. But
Yeah.
so, and also inspirational story for Nate here, who famously cannot read. He's now running a newspaper.
Yeah. You really flipped it on its head.
Charlie and Carol are back in the penthouse. Carol is putting on the big act about how she was wrong not to let Charlie stay here. She just wishes she could visit more. She doesn't feel comfortable putting Lily out, letting Charlie stay here. She's like, I never thought I'd say this, but maybe it's time to get your own place. And they're doing this whole big act. Charlie's like, but it's so expensive. And Cece's like, are you fucking kidding me? Do you peg me as a fool? Coming here under the guise of a party and trying to get me to buy you an apartment. And Carol's like, not for me. For Charlie. But Cece's like, if it was for Charlie, she would have asked me herself. Once again, Carol, you are all dollars and no cents. Got her with the wordplay. You think she was waiting to just use that one all trip and she finally was able to hit her with it?
Yeah, there's a scene where she crosses out her joke book journal. No, this is good. I mean, she might be old and dying, but she's not stupid.
Exactly.
Can't get one over on her.
That's what she should have said. So
I may be old and dying. And just loses her place.
So Carol says her only agenda is getting close to her daughter, which Cece will never understand. And then she really pumps up the dramatics by saying she's going to go for a walk on the streets where she's welcome. And Charlie begs her to stay, but Carol storms off. And Grandma starts to get lightheaded, reaches for her pills. And Charlie's going to rush over to make sure she's okay. She sees the pills and suggests calling an ambulance. But Cece says that Carol just triggered her blood pressure and she just needs a glass of water to take her pill. Timbray, were you worried for Grandma Cece here, getting lightheaded?
I was worried, Seems
He's
to me
terrified.
that there may be more than meets the eye going on here
Yeah.
for Grandma Cece.
We'll see.
I mean,
we'll
I
see.
honestly, like, this whole scene for me, as soon as it was all pretty bad, and then we get to the dizziness, and I just started laughing. This is some of the worst acting. I know it was like acting within acting, so which made it difficult because they're like playing it up for Cece and they're like role playing essentially, but the whole thing was it was like a big scene of cringiness to me. This entire thing, down to down to her like almost passing out was like what me or you would have done in like theater in high school or something.
Yeah, I was thinking, that's exactly what I
Oh my word!
Oh heavens!
Oh heavens!
Ryan O'Neal, I'm coming for you. Ryan O'Neal was not dead at that time, but
do we see what the pills were though? Because she made it seem like, oh, you're taking these, we got to go to the ambulance. But I wasn't sure if we just saw her name or like if it was a pill for something else.
I paused it on the label and it said pills for dying grandmothers.
No, it did not. Really?
No, it didn't. No, of course it didn't say that.
Like, are we really heading into that territory of just pure emptiness?
So, Max gets a phone call from Serena canceling the date. So now Charlie gets a text from Max. Nice try. You have 24 hours or your jig is up. I can't take anyone seriously saying
I
your
love
jig
the
is up.
jig is up. It's so good. It's so funny.
Do either of you know the origin of that phrase? Like, what is a jig?
No, I have no idea.
I assume it's it's got to be an Irish term.
But
because of the
why
jig.
why would that mean like? Why is that synonymous with like you're
I caught you.
You're caught. Yeah, I caught you doing your jig.
Because they used to do it naked. Like, aha! I caught you doing your jig alone naked.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Like if you wanted to distract someone from some ploy going on over here.
Yeah.
Naked jig. And
Hey, your jig is up.
like, hey, that's up. I see it.
I think that makes sense.
Max has showed up with the cake, and even though Serena canceled on him, she is so excited to see him and the cake that he baked. And Max offers to leave before she thinks he's a stalker that shows up to cancel his date, which, yeah, good move, because that's what you are. But Serena's like, oh, stop it. I really did want to see you. I just don't want to move too fast. And Max is very understanding. Serena tells him she was worried he wasn't over his ex, but Max says, no, I just wanted to return her stuff. And I know what happens in this episode, but what is Max's plan? Because as Charlie was saying, he can never meet Serena's mom. So just flat out lie to Serena and string her along, and then like once he gets his money, like run away. Like what a dick.
Yeah, pretty much. He's gonna get a lot of it too. He's not out for just like some small cash. He's out for like a lifetime's worth of money too.
No good men in this universe, or any universe really.
Yeah,
Men are trash.
Except Rufus isn't that bad today. He looks pretty funny in that gold necklace of his.
Rufus is having a great.
He's having a great day.
He's having a great season. He's having a great day for sure. So Max swears he hasn't thought about Ivy since he met Serena, and Serena hears that and immediately tells him to come to the party tonight and give the cake to Grandma herself, a party that Lily is going to be at. And Max is like, you just went from take it slow to come meet my family. And Serena's like, yeah, caution's not my strong suit, which is putting it lightly, I would say. And obviously, Max is going to go for some middle ground here. He tells Serena to live blog the party updates, and he'll pick her up tomorrow afternoon. And so Max leaves, and both parties are very happy with the compromise here.
Yeah, I guess he's not trying to be too over the top with it and look like he's really trying to get something out of her. Just wants to play it cool for now and play long game. It doesn't end up working out because his game ends up ending pretty quickly.
Goes in a very interesting direction for my money.
Yeah.
Charlie and Cece here, grandmother and fake granddaughter. And Charlie asks if she should call a doctor, but Cece's going to use many excuses to say that she's fine. And Charlie is going to give Cece some ginger tea. She knew someone who took those pills for dying grandmothers. And ginger helps with the dizziness. So, see, Charlie really is a nice girl who just got mixed up in this whole thing.
Mm-hmm. The way she said that, too, made it seem like these were maybe the pills that she was supposed to be taking. Like
who knows?
She winked at the camera when she said it.
I'll never tell.
Mm-hmm.
So, Timbray, you may be wondering how Charlie got mixed up in all this as we freeze frame on Charlie here. And this was original, and you may notice from the jizz-stained playbill that she was in a production of Alice in Wonderland back in the day, and Carol hired her to pretend to be her daughter because she still did not. She wanted to keep her daughter closed off, and she wanted to get access to her trust fund, yada, yada, yada. So this was just a job to Charlie at first, but then she met the family and fell in love with the family. And we know from her troubled past that we find out this episode that she's always just wanted a family of her own. And she really does love this family as her own. And so now she's kind of just doesn't want to leave now, which obviously she should be kind of coming clean, but like she just wants a family now. She wants to be Charlie Rhodes.
Mm-hmm.
And the money probably doesn't hurt either.
I was going to say too, like, yeah, she doesn't have to like take 70, like, what was she? Did she want a $750,000 from? What was? I forget what the total was that Max wanted, but like she doesn't have to take that amount.
Max wants.
She was 500,000. Okay, but either like, she doesn't need that money at all, but she could take like, oh, I'll go shopping here and there. It's like my credit card.
Yeah. Well, when she gets the trust fund open, she tells Carol she can have all the money. She just wants the family.
Oh, so she's gonna take all the money out. Okay.
That's what she says.
All right. Well, I guess she could always go shopping with Serena. Like Serena will literally always take her shopping.
Oh, of course.
Doesn't matter.
So Charlie goes to get up, but Cece stops her, asks, and as she asks what Carol wants the money for, and to be honest. And Charlie's like, it is me that wants the apartment. Carol's just trying to help make it seem like it was her idea. And Cece wishes Charlie would have just have been honest. And Cece essentially and literally just met this girl. And she has already completely won her over by being herself. Pretty impressive on Charlie's part.
It is pretty impressive. This is now like, from what Cece hears, this is like the second tier of 3 tiers of lies. From like Carol's lie now to this is another lie. And then we find out, they find out about like the Max thing later on.
And then it's all buried in this main lie that Charlie still is not Charlie. Like, there's so many lies going on.
Yeah.
Lies within lies.
Yeah. It's a lot to keep track of. I'm sure it's very easy for Timbray to keep track of all this going on.
Yeah, great first episode to be a part of. As is any episode of Gossip Girl. Really.
Yeah, I think every time we have a newcomer, that's just the first time we're like, this is a crazy one for you, but it's like, but always the case. It's a stupid show.
The first half was a struggle to follow along.
Yeah.
Did this make you want to continue with your Gossip Girl journey?
I am sort of hesitant to jump into any lengthy television series.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I can understand the appeal of this for sure. You know, you had a lot of different points of intrigue. You had the sort of rich, glamorous lifestyle intrigue. You had the romantic. Will they? Want? I don't know. I don't know the history with.
Right. If I were you, I'd want to know how we got here.
I am pretty curious how we got here.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe someday Timbray will be watching. We'll see.
We'll see. You know,
we'll see.
I'm gonna wrap up The Wire pretty soon, so it might be time to switch to something a little lighter.
It's the natural progression of things from Wire to Gossip Girl. It's the next step.
See, Charlie didn't want to ask Cece because she's already been so generous, but Cece tells her she's going to release the cap on the trust fund tomorrow. And Charlie, obviously so happy, gives her a big hug. Charlie wins all over the place for Charlie. Meanwhile, Nate has called Tripp into the boardroom. He has already told Tripp the bad news, apologizes for being the one who had to tell him, and Tripp is confrontational immediately. He's like, yeah, I doubt that. I'm sure you're enjoying every second of this. And it's like, what? Like, I know we've had our differences, but we're still family. And like, that is enough to calm Trip down, I guess. And he's just upset he didn't see this coming when Maureen kept asking to leave grandfather's compound early.
Yeah.
And I don't know exactly what it was. Trip says that he was there all of August, and that trips something, not pun not intended. Trips something off for Nate, where he's able to like pick, like he is also a master investigator now. Like,
I know.
pick up on something that
He's got that like that cold stern face on, like his thinking face.
Yeah,
And it's all coming together for Nate. Like we're all confused about this new information we're being given, and I'm like, what is Trip talking about? And then Nate's got it all on lock. He's totally fine. He knows what's going on. He knows there's more than meets the eye.
Yeah, and so I'm getting an update here that the call is about to end. So let's end this one. Take a brief. Send it to break after these brief messages.
Okay, well this is a good time to put.
And we will be right back. So I'm gonna. All right, just waiting on Timbray. Should I add him in the? At Timbray. Oh, why's my phone wet?
Why is it wet?
Oh.
Interesting question. Ooh, I know. I should do. I should do the second half of the podcast in my. If it doesn't distract you. I just got blue light blocking glasses, so I should confuse the viewers with my shades. My problem is that there's such a glare. I don't want to use these because you can see the screen on my face.
Yeah, I can see the screen on your face.
That's why I didn't want to use these. But the whole point is to get the blue light. I guess there's the blue light right there. Not gonna do it.
Not gonna do it.
Not gonna do it.
All right, Timbray has read the message. Just waiting for him to click on the. Oh, I hear someone knocking.
Hello.
Hello. Hello. Hello.
Hello.
Back in action.
All right. I have continued. All right. So I'm still recording on my end. Brendan.
We're still rolling over here.
Let's do it.
Back into
So Trip tells Nate that, they've really worked on their marriage after the whole Serena thing. I don't know the legitimacy of this cheating scandal, what is going on, but how can Trip even be too upset with Maureen after he was cheating on her with his teenage intern and then left her to die in a car crash? This was another person that Serena dated, Timbray, the person that she was working for. She was a teenager and he was 26, and
she loves figures with authority, obviously.
Yeah, she really does love figures. In season 4, she had 2 separate storylines where she was dating a teacher, the former high school teacher that groomed her, and then she was also dating a college professor earlier in that season. So Serena is, famously has daddy issues. Rode a horse to prove it.
It's so it's funny how Timbray here is the Australian, not Australian, but currently the Australian Brendan. Serena is like the opposite of me, where she is obsessed with figures of authority, and I cower at them. She's the opposite, and Timbray is the same as me.
Yeah, yes.
Those are my two guys.
If you're looking to make a some kind of tree or Venn diagram or something, that's where everyone lies. So Trip understands that Nate has to run the story, but he hopes that his personal feelings don't make Nate make the story any uglier. And then before Trip leaves, he hits Nate with a, I guess now we're even. With what? I don't know.
But Nate was also doing like a courteous thing here by coming to him with the story like, hey, I'm going to do this and I'm sorry, but it's going to come out either way. So he just, he doesn't have to, he could have just like put the story out behind his back, and then that would have caused a little bit of like a little bit more of a rift than was already there. But
right.
I don't think Nate is like getting one over on
No,
Trip
yeah,
or
I don't know.
anybody means.
How are they even? I don't know. Yeah, I didn't.
Maybe that's
understand
what
that, but-
Nate was picking up on. I was like, that was a weird way to react to me doing a nice thing.
Yeah.
What else is going on here?
I will say, Aaron Tveit still very attractive.
Handsome guy. Handsome guy.
Man, handsome man.
Yeah.
He
I
was
was
one of the few people I recognized in the episode. I think I'd seen him in some Broadway stuff.
Oh, sure,
and,
big on the Broadway.
And I think he was in Brain Dead. That was like a one-season show about
That I will have to take
bugs
your word
crawling into politicians' brains.
Oh, so he's a politician in that one.
Yeah.
Maybe it's a crossover. Maybe he's playing the same character.
Could be, yeah.
It's like, I'm sorry, I'm gonna have to run the story about there being bugs in your brain. I hope this doesn't come between us.
It's like, we're even now.
there's like spiders coming out of his ears. He's like, yeah, I guess we're even now.
Like I had a different story until I got here and I saw the fucking spiders.
Yeah, Gossip Girl's taking a weird turn in season 5.
Now, when I see Trip, like we haven't seen him in such a long time now. I see him and I'm like, okay, this looks like a real actor that's actually in the biz. Like sometimes we get these side characters that come on once a season, twice a season. Like these are bootleg ass actors. These are nobodies. Trip looks like a guy that belongs on your screen
On a Broadway stage with
or
spiders coming out of his ears.
Yes.
Yeah. Trip leaves. Nate calls grandfather. He's going to wait on the story. He thinks Maureen is lying about the affair, but he doesn't know why. And immediately I'm like, why does he think that? Something about
I don't know why. Like, well, we don't either.
Yeah, but I was intrigued. I was.
Yeah.
For the first time ever, the Spectator was intriguing me.
Yeah. I mean, we'll get to it, but when he talks about it with his grandpa, it's like, I get it, but it's still, you sound like you made that whole thing up.
Yeah. At the end of it, and we'll get to it, but at the end of it, where grandfather's like, well, I see where you're coming from. But yeah, I guess you're right. It's a fraud. Like, really? We're really just on this? Like,
they just spun this web.
Okay.
Not to get back to the spider talk.
No pun intended. Dan has tracked down I Hate Humphrey using the Gossip Girl spotted map. I guess I Hate Humphrey is also on the map. I guess
this helps me confirm something that I guess you don't have to just submit your location if you want it to be used. It's
Gossip Girl can track anyone.
Yeah, you can track anyone who's ever read it or something. I don't know. Maybe you have to have submitted to Gossip Girl once, and then she's got your location for life.
Yeah.
I don't know.
By using this website, you implicitly agree to be tracked at all times. Hope that's not a problem. People love Gossip Girl that much.
Yeah.
So, he's at a random apartment building. He's trying to get in. He buzzes every single apartment in the building and then asks the random stranger next door if he knows who lives there. Don't worry, I'm not a stalker. In fact, the person I'm looking for is the stalker, an anonymous one, the worst kind. And the stranger runs inside, terrified of Dan. And it's very funny that Dan's claiming to not be a stalker when that's almost his whole personality. He's stalking Serena since the beginning of the show. And the door opens, and Alessandra, of all people, answers the door. And Dan asks why she's here, and she reveals that she lives here, obviously. And Dan still hasn't picked up on what's happening. He tells her he's looking for someone that hates him, and Alessandra's like, oh, shit. This is how he finds out.
Yeah, she has a look on her face. You keep
Dan's
making jokes, though, about Dan, like this being the
yeah.
precursor to you. I haven't seen it still, but this is seems to me like the most glaring evidence that he does become a serial killer.
Joe Goldberg, yes.
Yeah.
This is Joe Goldberg in training here.
Yeah. He's also looked very sweaty and greasy the past few episodes too. Extra greasy.
Extra greasy.
Yeah.
I mean, he's been fighting the trolls. He probably hasn't had time to shower.
Yeah.
Blair is sitting in on Chuck's therapy, which what a power move. Love that both Chuck and his therapist are allowing this. And
I'll be pissed. Like this wastes an entire session for me if I'm Chuck.
And what have they been? Because she says, assuming this is a 50-minute session, I only have 18 minutes left. What have they been talking about for the first 32 minutes?
Yeah, I guess good question.
Dr. Kruger asked Blair what she's searching for, but she will not get fooled so easily. She was a teenage bulimic, and her father came out when she was 15, so this is not her first analysis. And she turns it around on the therapist and wants him to tell her how he transformed Chuck. And Chuck tries to insist again that it's not that simple, but Blair is still trying to force them to give her an answer. And again, if you are trying this hard to magically force your fiance to be a good person, maybe this is not the right guy for you.
Yeah, I mean, the therapist calls her out and is like, so you want your fiance to be more like this guy here?
And she's like, no. More like what Chuck has become. Like Louis used to be when Chuck was like Louis is now. The whole thing is very silly, but I'm having fun. Blair's great in this. Leighton Meester is great in this.
Blair's the overall, like, what's happening, I'm annoyed by because it's just boring, and we've been doing this game for a while, but like,
before,
but I like when Blair is being herself. She's funny.
I think she's at her most delightful when she's like being this insane person.
Yeah, when she like knows she's sort of wrong, but like she will not give up the fight.
Were you liking Blair in this scene? And I guess in this episode at large, Timbray?
I was. She seemed like she was less relevant in this episode.
Yeah,
She
in this
didn't
one
have as much
probably.
time to shine.
Yeah.
So I wish
Right.
I got to see a little more of her. But
Yeah.
I was like, this seems like a very intriguing character.
Yeah, we'll get some of our big patented Blair and Chuck scenes at the end of the episode, but yeah, a lot of the focus was on the Rhodes girls this episode. So Blair, a little bit of a backseat. Blair is the favorite of this podcast. We are big Blair Waldorf girls. You had heard of her, I'm sure. A lot of people are big fans of Blair Waldorf. She is the reason to watch the show, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah,
that may be the argument that pushes me to do it.
There we go. Yeah. So. Kruger tells Blair she seems confused, but she's just confused at why Chuck won't tell her how he got so good. First of all, I'm glad that Chuck found a better therapist, by the way, because his last one was a disaster.
What was the? I forget what happened in the last therapy.
The one that was
recently
selling the information to Louis.
Yeah. That was, I would be like scarred for life with therapy if that was my experience with it.
Yeah, so Dr. Kruger, you promise you're not in cahoots with Louis, right?
That's what Chuck probably needed was a male therapist that he wouldn't try to have sex with also.
Yes, that's probably good too.
Yeah. An old male, just to make sure. You never know.
Right, yeah, you never know. So it seems a lot like Blair is the one that hasn't let go, if you ask me, even though she's accusing it of Chuck hasn't let go. But Chuck tells Blair that he did let go of her, and Blair wants him to prove it. So he says he can't, but if she doesn't believe him, to call on Harry Winston. The night of the spectator lunch, he left the engagement ring that he bought her on the doorstep and walked away. And this seems to finally convince Blair. She is left without speech and leaves to go to her cake tasting. Poor Blair.
Poor Blair. Still wonder who picked up the probably $30,000 ring that was on the ground.
It's probably
low ball. Yeah, maybe.
She calls Harry Winston. He was like, "Yeah, I don't know. I opened the door. There was no ring there. Someone must have taken it."
Yeah.
Rufus is helping Lily get dressed, and another episode where Rufus has really taken a backseat, and I am not complaining. They're utilizing him well. I did not realize this was going to be a disco party. I was like, what is going on with Rufus's chain necklace here?
I said the same thing in my head, and then I realized, okay, there's a theme here. This must be a part of it. Otherwise, I hope this is Rufus's new look moving forward. Because it's not just it's one thing to have a chain that hangs, but this was like a choker golden necklace.
It's perfect.
Yeah.
Lily complaining that Carol's here. It's taking every ounce of self-control not to march over to her and tell her what a terrible mother she thinks she is. But luckily for her, Carol is walking in right behind her when she says this, and Carol confronts her and is like, "Oh, tell me how you really feel." And Rufus feels it getting a little tense, and so he runs out of the room crying. He's like, "I can't do this. You guys don't know about that. I can't do it.
I hate when you guys fight.
Oh my god." And so Carol wants to know what she could have done to more mortally offend her all the way from Florida. And Lily reveals that Charlie told her that Carol made her live under the name of Ivy Dickens and scolds her on how being a teenager is enough of an identity crisis without having to assume a false one. But of course, right when Lily screams the name Ivy Dickens is when Serena happens to be walking by right behind them. And Brendan, we just talked last week about how lazy the Gossip Girl writers are and going to this well of a character just happening to walk in and hearing something they shouldn't. And now they do it literally twice in one scene. Incredible.
Yeah. It's astounding. The only way I could defend this is that this is fake information that Lily had, and at some point would get back to Serena. You would think, but it was just fortuitous timing.
Yes, Carol hiding behind a wall, and then Serena hiding behind that same wall.
It's a good
what do you guys think?
It's a good wall.
It's a good wall for hearing.
That's also maybe that's part of it too. It being a good wall, they know if I want to just sneak up on someone and hear some good shit, this is the wall to be behind.
The characters need to know to stop talking by that wall.
Yeah.
What do you guys think of Serena's hair in this episode?
Well, it's part of a theme.
It is,
which
Brendan,
makes it
you're
okay.
always on hair watch.
Yeah, I'm on hair watch. I think there's
why I
a version of this that is a little bit like Princess Diaries, but since it's not just natural frizz, it's purposely frizzed. I think I'm down for it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Timbray, were you a fan of the hair?
I'm the wrong person to ask about hair. I don't notice it. I don't notice clothes or jewelry. It's
looked like it was on her head.
Yeah, that's the bad thing.
I'm pretty sure she had it.
Yeah, as someone who's not good at identifying fashion to be on such a fashion like influence show like Gossip Girl, it is tough for me as well. But
it's something like into our 5th season now. I bet there's a lot of people that were like, yeah, they're like nice guys, but they don't talk about the fashion at all. It's like probably a huge allure for a lot of people that watched Gossip Girl, and we don't touch on it ever unless we have certain guests on. But
it's so genius that we have these because we're the boys, baby. We're the boys. We break down the boys
this
stuff.
podcast is for the boys. It comes out on Saturdays, bro.
It's for the boys. We only notice the cool fashion like Rufus's chain necklace, baby. That chain necklace was for the boys.
That chain necklace is off the chain, boys.
So Lily continues to scold Carol. Serena just stands behind the door and listens. Gotta hand it to Lily again for being a good mother figure. Once again to someone who is not her daughter, but
she learned from herself what not to do for the first 18 years.
Exactly. And so Carol insists that being Ivy is the only thing that saved Charlie from the despicable fate of being a Rhodes. And she storms out, doesn't even seem to notice Serena as she walks right by her. And Serena calls Max again and tells him that the party tonight was canceled and she has the apartment all to herself if he wants to come celebrate being over Ivy with her. Right away, I was saying, this better be a setup because Serena's priority should be figuring out what the fuck is going on with this Ivy business.
You were worried that she was just going to fuck him?
Yes, before she starts hooking up with Max. I thought she was like, what? Oh my God, how could Charlie? She's lying to me. All right, Max, come on over. We're going to fuck. But then luckily, she's like, come at 7, don't be late. And we see like her face is giving away that, this is not going to be, peaches and cream for Max. Is that an expression?
Yeah, it was definitely, I was worried it would be peaches and cream. It was nothing. Yeah, it was peaches.
Yeah, as someone, as Uncle Cream, you must have been.
I was excited. I was salivating.
And once again, how the hell is Charlie going to get out of this one?
Yeah, there's a couple moments in the big scene coming up where I'm like, those are the best scenes. Like I'm like, okay, what are you going to say? I don't know what the hell I would say in order to back out of this. She gets a couple things pop up where she's able to get more time to think. I wonder if all these things that she does say to get out of these situations, like episode after episode, if they're pre-thought out, like when she knows the situation's coming, she's like, all right, I gotta figure this out while I'm like taking my big shit of the day, or is it like mid scenario?
Yeah, or is she coming up with this on the fly? It would be interesting to know here. Alessandra and Dan. Alessandra wishes Dan wouldn't be so negative about the account she created called I Hate Humphrey, and she's like, sex tapes and public brawls are what makes people famous. And I guess she didn't intend on Dan going back to his stalker ways and finding her out. But she's like, listen, if it makes you feel any better, there's an I Love Humphrey account too. And he's like, yeah, that's me. Yeah. And he's like, I have over 1,000 followers.
Oh, wow.
Good for, to amass over 1,000 followers so quickly is very impressive.
Yeah, especially in the early days.
Yeah, for sure. Not to brag, I have 1.3 thousand followers. I love that we're getting such a Twitter-centric episode.
Yeah, they say it. They mention it by name.
Love it.
Yeah.
Now we're going to go over to Inspector Nate here. And he is talking to Grandfather. He's like, when Tripp told me he was with you all August, something didn't feel right. That's when one of my reporters said she was spotted with her sailing instructor. And, Grandfather's like, oh, she could have snuck out for a night or two, which is why Inspector Nate called the club. And as it turns out, the only sailing lessons Maureen ever took were from a woman named Heather 2 years ago. So now Nate thinks that Maureen is faking an affair. Were you guys also trying to figure out the mystery? What did you guys think was going on?
I don't know. I know I didn't know. I can imagine Timbray knew. I was very hooked on to what Nate was saying. So I'm like, I need to listen to every syllable carefully so I can hang on for dear life with whatever he's talking about.
Timbray, were you trying to figure anything out, or were you just along for the ride?
I was along for the ride, and once he, said what his theory was, I'm like, yeah, I buy that.
I'm with this guy. He seems trustworthy.
I trust you.
Not to be the Cece of the pod, but I haven't eaten all day, and I'm feeling very lightheaded right now. So.
I hope we get a live pass out.
Yeah, I just got very dizzy. I got hot flashes. I had to take my slippers off. It was good.
Your mom comes in after you pass out and sees pills on the floor, 4 dying 29-year-olds.
Hey, don't help my age on the pod.
Dying gray
redacted.
29-year-olds.
Dying age redacted.
Look a little great today, buddy, huh?
I went to aside. I went to Avery's party, Sanchez's little 1-year-old's party on Saturday that you ducked out of. And the first thing that Ganesh said was, "Some grays in the beard over there."
You knew it. You knew it.
And I said, "Ganesh, I just talked about this. This is why I hate seeing you, because you always point out the grays." And he's like, "Yeah, but the grays in the beard are new." I'm like, I know, and that's why I hate that you're pointing them out. And you always point them out, the grays on my head. And
has everyone ever told you that the first thing you say to someone shouldn't just be about their appearance? What kind of animal are you?
So that's what happened.
That's our Ganesh shit talk.
Yep, that's what's going on with Ganesh. So Grandpa thinks that this would hurt Tripp immeasurably, but Nate's of the opinion that it could help him. Tripp is running for governor now, apparently, and the last time he needed help in the polls, this is true, this happened in the show, Timbray, Maureen hired someone to jump in the Hudson so Tripp could look like a hero. Great times. Remember when this show was good?
Good time. That's fun stuff. Like, that's weird stuff. Like, I don't know what's really happening here. Everything that's going on is just like, everyone's just talking. I need action. I want people in the water.
I'll be honest, I was enjoying it. Yeah, that's true. We should see some
car
more
crashes,
action.
jumping
Show
in
don't
lakes.
tell. Yeah. They blew the budget though. This was like a bottle
Any party,
episode
a single
almost.
party would be great today.
So a grandfather's catching on, but he thinks that making Tripp into a victim is a risky move. But Nate thinks he has it all figured out. A guy fighting for the good in Washington while his wife cheats on him is a very sympathetic story. Are people just going to forget that he left? Do people know that he left Serena to die? I can't even remember.
Like the public, you mean?
Yeah. Who knows? They probably buried the story.
Yeah. Like they almost
Grandfather's still insisting that he can't believe Maureen would risk her marriage, but Nate knows that she'd make a public apology and go to counseling or something. So now Inspector Nate, all of a sudden, is a great investigator. I feel like, I don't know. It seems suspicious to me that 20-year-old Nate was able to figure all of this out, and however old this grandfather's supposed to be, he doesn't look that old, but a grandfather is like, "What? This is all news to me. I just believe it." So immediately I was thinking like, "Oh, grandfather's in on it," but we don't find that out, at least in this episode. Maybe it'll happen in future episodes. But were you thinking that grandfather was in on it as well, or were you not?
No, usually when someone is in on something, like they overtip their hand and like they give a cutaway of them being like, I know more than I'm leading on.
I feel like if Nate was able to figure this out, grandfather should have also been able to figure it out.
Yeah, but he did seem confused. You're right. And it's funny, like he's this master investigator, but also in order to figure this whole scheme out, he also has to be so plugged into the politics. And like I didn't know Nate was that much of a, I know he's a part of this political family, but I didn't think he cared. And now he knows everything.
Yeah, he does. So
okay.
In 2 years, when Tripp's name is on the ballot, people will remember him as the guy who fought through a rough patch to save his family. Yes, that is what I usually vote for. When I get in the voting booth, I'm like, which of these guys fought through a rough patch to save their family? That's who I want to vote for.
I love the ultimate wife guy.
That got cucked.
Excuse me, did any of these men get cucked? That's who I want to vote for.
In the polls.
Excuse me, who got cucked?
Who got cucked?
Poll master, who got cucked? So, grandfather can tell that like his political puppet here, or his newspaper puppet, is getting a little too self-aware. So he tries to shut him down. He's like, at least you won't have to run the story of the affair. But Nate has a better idea. He's going to run this story instead. So here we go. Grandfather tells Nate that he's sure Tripp is also in the dark now, just like he was with the river antics. So this isn't a story. It's a family squabble that could cause Nate's cousin his career. And they stare each other down, and Nate says he'll do the right thing. Don't worry. But he doesn't say what the right thing is.
It's so funny that he says that. He's like, I'll do the right thing, don't worry, after they just had an argument. And his grandpa's just like, all right.
All right, we clearly have the same opinion on what the right thing is. Thank you for agreeing.
So you'll do what I said. Okay, that makes sense.
So it feels like this is why grandfather wanted Nate as the editor of the paper so bad, so he could like control these stories.
Right. Yeah. I guess he's an investor in this, or the main investor, or did he sort of buy it? I don't remember. But I guess that means he'll be here every day, making sure that. Nate really doesn't run the place.
No, even though he thinks he did it on his own. I keep harping on this, but it's so ridiculous. Blair's tasting her cakes. She can't decide. They're all so delicious. Dorota agrees. But Blair has to make her top 3 choices, and she doesn't know how she can choose when her groom has lost his sweetness. And that's when Dorota asks if peeing in the fountain wasn't the answer. And Blair wants her to stop mentioning that, or she'll never be able to toss a coin in the fountain again. What an insane running joke to include in this episode. Gotta love Dorota.
It's also funny that, like, Blair, you don't have to go get the coin back after you throw it in. So what do you care if you throw it into a piss-filled fountain?
She's been using the same coin all these years. She throws the coin in.
With a little string on it.
So Chuck shows up unannounced. Dorota and the cake person hurry out of the room. The next person we see, the next time we see this cake person, she will have aged 50 years, by the way.
I thought it was 2 different people.
No, it has to be 2 different people. It's very weird.
Just like the same person with just thicker glasses.
Chuck wants to know why Blair left therapy. Dr. Kruger thinks it was because Blair was upset that Chuck returned the ring. Dr. Kruger might be on. I think Dr. Kruger's a little good at his job, if you ask me.
I think so. The Krugs.
The Krugs. Blair's hypothesis is that Dr. Kruger has too many PhDs. They cancel each other out and make him a moron. What do you think of this theory? I'm willing to believe it.
I like that. I think it's funny.
Yeah, I don't have any PhDs, so I'm willing.
You have to get an odd number of PhDs.
Yes, otherwise
Yeah.
they cancel each other out. Yeah.
That must be it.
So Chuck returned the ring because Blair asked him to let go, and he wanted to move on and give Blair the happy life she deserves. Chuck is incredibly serious in this episode. I love it.
Yeah, I think he makes a joke at some point, but it's hard to tell. See, it's tough with his delivery with anything. But
It is, yes.
I guess it wasn't that good because I don't remember what it was.
All this time, Blair has been blaming Chuck for pulling her into the dark, but she was wrong. Blair is coming to her own realization that it was she who brought out Chuck's dark side. So, yeah, both of these characters showing some growth here. We love to see it. And of course, we love a Blair-Chuck scene happening a little early in this episode if we check the runtime, which I know you were, Brendan.
Mm-hmm.
But Blair thinks that now that she's with Louis, she's doing the same to him. And poor Blair. What a tough conclusion to come to.
Yeah, it is tough. It's been hard for me to root for Chuck too because if you cut out the bad stuff from last season or even earlier, you can fully appreciate what's going on right now and you can root for it. But I don't know if I'll ever recover from the glass punch personally. It's always going to be in the back of my mind.
That was tough. And you know what? I've recovered from it. I am fully rooting for Chuck these days.
Yeah. They've gotten me to a point where I'm like, if I'm gonna keep listening to and watching the story, I have to forget about it because otherwise it doesn't work.
If you didn't hear the show, he's good now. This is good.
Oh, okay.
They've made it abundantly clear that Chuck is good.
they sure
Much like
have.
in the OC, when they want you to know that Luke is 18, so Julie is sleeping with an 18-year-old.
Right.
They want us to know that Chuck is good,
Chuck
so
is
we can
good.
forgive him. We can forgive him for his sexual assaults in the pilot episode. We can forget Timbray makes his faces.
In the very first
I
episode.
feel my perception of Chuck.
That was the pilot episode, Chuck. We can forgive him for selling Blair for a hotel and human trafficking her in season 3. We can forgive him for in season 4 punching glass and having that glass cut Blair's face open. We can forgive him for all of it because he is good now.
Okay.
As everyone co-signs. And if you're not watching the
we
video,
agree.
everyone else is giving thumbs up and nodding vigorously. And listen, I say this half joking at least. So don't take my words.
I'm cutting this
Do
part
not
out.
take my
Cutting
words
it
out
out.
of context and cancel me on Twitter. I don't want to see the I hate Gagan.
No, it's coming. It's coming.
Get the fuck off Twitter right now.
I'm not here to help Timbray's book at all. I'm just here to make an I Hate Gagan Twitter account now.
I'm so hungry. I'm going insane right now. This has happened before on the podcast. This has happened before. Whew. It's ladies' night. Oh, it's ladies' night. Oh, what a night. All the ladies plus Rufus are drinking their champagne.
I wasn't sure if that was a part of the show or if you just were losing it to a point where you just wanted to sing your favorite song.
It was part of the show. They do play that song.
Okay.
Rufus is in his James from Derry girls era. He's the only guy among the girls. Cece's a little disappointed there's no cocaine. She's like,
Yeah, it's fun.
back in my day, these guys of cocaine would come with a little white
Candy.
a little white.
And they just like,
You're like, oh, mom.
Mom.
So this is when I'm figuring out the theme of the party is disco. So that's why Rufus looks like this. That's why Serena has her hair. They get Cece a gift. She loves it. Carol sits down with Charlie and complains about Cece's favoritism. And Charlie reminds Carol that now is not the time to be mad at Cece because all she needs to do is sign the paper and they're in the clear. But little does she know that Max is on his way. And Carol thinks that Charlie is a better actress than she thought because she was able to get more out of Cece in 3 minutes than Carol has in 45 years. And I think that's just because Carol sucks.
Yeah, I think that's a valid theory.
Remember Flashback Carol? What happened to her?
I don't know. It's such a different person.
She was so likable.
Yeah, she was more likable than Lily.
For sure.
For a little while, yeah.
So Charlie's like, yeah, I was just kind to her. Maybe you should try that.
Right, just be nice.
Carol insists that Charlie doesn't know these people. They're my family, not yours. Remember that. Which, ouch. So Charlie says, try being kind. And Carol responds with, this isn't your real family.
Like, well, maybe that's part of their problem.
All right, you asshole.
Yeah.
So Carol turns on the acting chops to pretend like she's happy, and here comes Max entering the party. Charlie rushes over to him, asks why he's here, and the dope Max is like, well, Serena said the party was canceled and to meet her here. Me personally, I would have called Serena to make sure she was here. Maybe he did do that and she lied to him. Like, who knows? But to just like take her word that the party's canceled and like show up into this, like, man, you gotta have a lot of trust.
He walks up into the penthouse and is just like, what are you guys doing here? I thought I was getting laid. He's just confused. He's not fucking Serena right now.
Oh, man, where's my playbill? Which he does have.
He does have.
He did ring with him.
He would never forget it.
Charlie insists that this is not what it looked like, but they both admit to Serena that they used to date, and they both pretended they never met. And then Charlie also tried to convince Serena not to see him again because he was still into his ex, Ivy. And this is getting messy. I loved it. Brendan, you seem very skeptical of episode. When the shit was hitting the fan here, I was enjoying it.
This is good. This part I like, but it took so long to get here, and it was just one of those episodes that there's so much set up, and you probably could have just brought me right here because we know that this moment is bound to happen eventually, like for the entire season so far. I didn't need anything before this at all. Nothing. Besides Dan. I like the dance because it's just goofy.
It was goofy, yeah. That's fair. Lily comes over to stop the fighting because they need to get to the party, and then she drops the hello Max, it's nice to see you again. And Serena's like, what the fuck, you know him too? Everyone knows that my boyfriend that I haven't introduced anyone. It's so
when she said that, I forgot. Like, oh yeah, I guess she doesn't know that like her mom knows this guy.
It was so funny. As is Max's like little shy wave to Lily. Like he doesn't know what he's going to say. So Serena refuses to go anywhere until Charlie explains her alter ego, and Lily tries to defuse the situation by explaining it's not Charlie's fault. Carol had her adopt the fake name and identity because she didn't want her to live as a Rhodes, and you can't blame Charlie for her mother's insanity. Now, Carol, who knows that this is the story they're going with, should just be acting and going with the bit, but instead she decides to fight Lily on this. Like, I'm not insane. So
Yeah.
Cece wants to know what's going on, and Serena wants to know what the real deal is with Charlie, and she's yelling now, I invited you to New York. My mom and Rufus gave you somewhere to live. Cece got your trust fund back. I noticed Cece does not, or Serena doesn't call Cece grandmother, which is interesting. She just calls her
by
Cece.
name.
Yeah. She says, now just stop lying and tell me what you and your boyfriend are up to. And Cece hears all this and drops to the floor and faints. And if I know Brendan, he was fucking laughing hysterically. Because this time I was too. Now, I didn't laugh when the captain overdosed, but this time was different. We literally see Cece drop to the floor out of nowhere, and it is incredible. Joke of the episode, of course.
I think she does do like the
Heavens me.
And it's like a classic like from Stress too, just like I can't believe what's happening. I'm going to the other side.
Timbray, I am so glad you chose this episode so you could really see the insanity of what Gossip Girl can be.
It's pretty wild. Pretty wild stuff.
Lily and Rufus are going to check on Cece, and Dr. Rufus says her pulse feels okay.
Also, by the way, this is the point where now Charlie was just exposed, and great timing by Cece to faint, so she has now more time to play out her story in her head and what she's going to say. Yeah.
Thank God, yeah.
Yeah.
Cece starts to come to. Lily tells her to calm down because she fainted from the stress, and Carol takes this as an opportunity to argue some more. And Cece just wants to get off the floor, so they all help her up, and Lily and Carol are still arguing. Charlie bravely chimes in now, even though she is the source of all this. She knows what's wrong, and she tells Grandma. She calls her Grandma, even though Serena doesn't. Sure. Her fake granddaughter, she calls her Grandma. Cece stays silent, so Charlie starts talking, and we think that Charlie's going to reveal the big secret, but no. She's been dieting to fit into her jumpsuit. A few martinis and a glass of champagne on an empty stomach, and anyone would pass out. Charlie's getting good. She's
already smart move to like just cover up for this person, so she has her on her side now.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. She's playing them well.
Real quick, either of you guys ever faint? I've never fainted before.
No. I mean, stay tuned for the end of this podcast. Anything can happen.
Right.
I've never fainted. I've obviously, passed out in a drunken stupor, but I've never
Yeah.
I've never
I just
fainted.
wanted to clear that up.
I've like in college, I once just like passed out and fell off a chair and like hit my nose and was bleeding, and I woke up the next day covered in my own blood. In Syracuse once, I must have passed out and hit my chin on something because I still do have a scar on my chin. So I'll have just like falling and making myself bleed when I was in a drunken stupor, but never like getting lightheaded and passing out.
Yeah. Okay. Doesn't count.
All right, I'm glad everyone is.
So let us know. We will have to return the three of us to a podcast whenever we all finally pass out. Soberly.
Yes. So Cece confirms that she just needs something to eat, and Rufus hears they need to cook and hops right into the kitchen where he belongs. Do you think he's making chili or waffles?
It's easily chili right now. It's easily chili. It's night. It's nighttime.
Like that is not what Cece needs. She does not need a chili right now.
He's like, she needs something savory. She's on the ground. He's just like ladling it onto her face. Like, here,
eat the chili. Eat the chili. Here comes the chili.
This lady needs beans.
Oh, it's chilly night out of sight. It's ladies' night. Eat your chili night.
Chili night.
Oh, what a night. It's going to take Brendan a while to recover. Cece wants him to go on without her, but Lily's like, don't be silly. We don't have the budget for a party this week. Well, I'll just stay here. And so they're going to have their own celebration, even though Cece is the guest of honor at this party they're supposed to go to. Ryan O'Neal is being blue-balled right now. So once Cece recovers, then Charlie can get back to explaining everything, according to Serena. She doesn't want anyone to lose sight. She's like, all right, now Charlie can explain. And the wheels are spinning in Charlie's head. Nate enters a room, and all of the employees give him a standing ovation. It is so nice working for someone who means what he says. Nate's approval rating is through the roof right now.
Has he been he's been in charge for maybe a day?
Maybe a day.
Okay.
This is day one.
Day one.
He's getting standing ovations. But he sees Grandfather reading from an iPad, and Grandfather's reading the story that Nate published about a family member trying to corrupt the site for personal and political gain. Again, supposed to be a Gossip Girl type thing when Diana was in charge of this. Now it is this. And Nate goes on in the article to say he's not naming names. He's not going to post the story or bury it, but he is promising to never let any wealthy agendas get in the way of reporting the truth. Seems like a pretty solid middle ground here. He says, told you I do the right thing. Sorry, we have different versions of what that is. But don't worry, because Grandfather is not here to reprimand Nate. He's not angry that Nate alluded to Maureen. He says, you're your own man, Nathaniel. I've always loved you, but now I respect you. A very nice sentiment, but also a strong implication that he never respected him. Now I'm
surprised he ever even loved him, so that's good.
Yeah, thank God.
Yeah.
So Chuck enters Blair's room, and now we get the real Blair and Chuck scene. He tells Blair she never pulled him to the dark side. She appreciates him trying, but she has her answer, and Chuck doesn't stop there. He says, you're the lightest thing that ever came into my life. And Blair asks why it took him letting her go to find this side of himself. But he tells her that he only turned dark and desperate because he was afraid of losing her. And he says, your love kept me alive. And Chuck goes on to say that he had to find a way to move on without her, and he only wants her to be happy. And he says, I'm just sorry it couldn't be with me. How Blair is not immediately leaving Louis to be with Chuck right now is beyond me. Timbray, like we said, you've never even seen Chuck's darkness, so you must have just been watching this thinking he was a great man.
I really was, until you mentioned like
the laundry list of things, yeah.
And, that has me questioning my perception now.
That was bad.
That's essentially why she's not currently with him, honestly.
That was bad, Chuck. Yeah. This is good, Chuck.
She loved him throughout the entire thing, throughout the entire series. Never stopped loving him. Just these scenarios just kind of got in the way of the two of them.
Yeah, and this is when some old lady, the cake lady that is aged 50 years in one scene, comes by with, "Hello, Sonny, you've got more. She looks more cakes to try."
The costume designer in The Incredibles, the little short lady with the big glasses.
Edna.
Yeah, Edna. There you go.
And I'm happy to see the groom is here too. But Chuck has to sadly say he's not the groom, and he walks out. Very sad, very sad. But it's explaining time now for Charlie. She tells Serena and everyone else that she lied to her in LA and didn't tell her about Ivy Dickens. Cece is very confused, and Carol takes the blame for it, says she didn't want anyone to find out Charlie was a Rhodes. Thank God Carol's in on this, because this would obviously not work if she wasn't.
Right.
But good for her there. Carol just didn't want anyone to use Charlie for money, and I love this move. She's like, exactly what Max is doing, right? Max is the bad guy here. He's
right.
Max is ready to fight back, though. He says he's not the one using them. Charlie is. But Charlie is also ready to fight back. She accuses Max of blackmailing her. And Cece's like, oh, is that what you needed the money for? And Charlie reveals that Max manipulated her into doing things she's not proud of. He has a tape that he was threatening to expose. And she tells Serena she was worried he was going to do the same to Serena. And that's why she tried to talk her out of seeing him. Again, we don't know. Is this all coming to Charlie on the fly? Like, historically, she's had some trouble on her feet, but this is like some next level Jenny Humphrey shit.
Yeah, it really is. It seems like it is coming to her. Maybe she had like the video idea in the back of her mind, but we have no way of knowing when this all came to.
Yeah, I want to see the behind the scenes of this.
Yeah, I don't know. Usually, like the lies will come from some sort of place of truth, but this is totally out of left field. This
It's
video
great.
stuff.
The tape comes out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Max tries to say he doesn't have a tape, but Serena asks Charlie why she didn't just tell the truth, and Charlie just wanted to pay him off and make it go away. Max cannot believe what's happening. It's so funny to watch him implode. He desperately tells Charlie, like fake family, that she's not Charlie Rhodes. She's Ivy Dickens, a wannabe actress from Florida, and Lily gives a great eye roll at this. She is not buying any of it. Like, this is the ruse of the century. They can make Netflix documentaries about this someday.
Yeah. I mean, it seems like plausible only because we know that she's not actually their family member. But imagine being any one of the Rhodes or Vanderwoodsons right now. Like, you are so why would you ever believe that this girl isn't your family? Like, it's going to be a hard sell no matter what from the other side.
Right. It's so perfect because in order to believe Max, you have to adopt the premise that this
person that you think you've known your whole life.
that you've known, you think for your whole life, and has known this version, had they've been back into her life for almost a year at this point, is not your granddaughter or your daughter or your niece or your cousin. You have to accept that.
You
premise.
need hard
and
evidence.
To accept that premise would be so absurd. Like, Max is at such a disadvantage here.
He's by himself.
Like, to be in the room and be like, no, I'm serious. She's not your granddaughter.
What do you mean?
She's not your niece. Like, that's so absurd to hear.
Yeah. Absolutely.
You sound like a crazy person.
Yeah.
And he doesn't even have his Jizzy playbill.
No.
Exactly.
I like it.
That it is a Jizzy playbill.
I thought it would be funny if there's an alt version where he's like, watch this. And he pulls out just like a just covered Wicked playbill instead. He's just like, he has so many different ones.
Sorry, I had an Adina and Menzel face.
It's the only thing he can jerk off to is playbills.
So Carol dismisses Max and says they heard enough of his lies, and that pisses Max off even more. It's like, you're not even her real mother. She grew up in trailer parks. Her father was a heroin addict who died in front of her when she was 8 years old. And wow, we are learning a lot about the real Ivy right now, and it is tragic and also kind of messed up of Max to bring up.
Yeah. I wasn't sure if we had known this already or not, and it's tough. So which ends up bringing her and Carol together a little bit more.
A little bit, yeah. So Ivy claims she just told him that to get him to believe she was Ivy, which it would be a weird thing to go to get someone to believe you were something. Like, I don't know. That would maybe some red.
Just icing the cake for
yeah,
now.
Again, you're not going to believe that this person is not your family member. Max claims to have proof and goes to look for his jerk-off material, but it is gone.
Mm-hmm.
And Carol flashes him a slight smile, and we all know that it was her who took it. So Cece's had enough. She knows her grandfather, or not her grandfather, that's crazy. She knows her granddaughter, Charlie Rhodes, better than anyone. She was there the day she was born, and she's her family. She doesn't need any proof. She knows it in her bones. Incredible. I was laughing this whole time that she is so sure that I was there when she was born. Of course this is my granddaughter.
She looks the same. She just had the same size head, same face, but now just her body grew.
So Serena tells Max to go before they call the police. Nice that they let him go and don't call the police. And Charlie has incredibly pulled this off. Max tells them he warned them all, and he leaves very defeated. And I mean, bravo to Ivy. She should be the one getting a standing ovation.
Because now it's not that she didn't just get out of the situation. She made it so that how could he ever come back and try again? Like at the end of the episode, he's like, "I'm not done with you. I'll make sure it's the last thing I ever do." But they think you're an insane person now, and she really covered her tracks for the future as well, not just currently.
Yeah, great move for the present, great move for the future. A fantastic move. The next scene we jump to is a jump scare. It is Rufus dancing disco style and having the time of his life. Everyone else is also having a time of their life at the Rhodes girls party. I love it. Serena seems a little depressed though, but Charlie apologizes, tells her it's okay, and gets why she fell for Max. He seemed perfect. Too bad he was just seeing Serena to get to her. Everyone dancing in the scene is so absurd and incredible. From Rufus to Lily to Cece, all of their dance moves was just making me smile.
I think that they did find Coke.
They must have. Yeah,
They must have.
Carol wants to interrupt to talk to Lily. She also apologizes for changing Charlie's name, and Lily just wants them all to be Rhodes for as long as they have left, and Carol agrees. Lily admits she was a little too quick to judge because she's come to love Charlie as her own. Carol thinks it's great because now she'll have two moms to screw her up, and this could be happening with the real Charlie if Carol wasn't actually a terrible mother, but I wonder what the real Charlie is up to. We allude something like in the last scene that Carol's like, if they knew the real Charlotte Rhodes, I'd be in deep shit right now.
I don't know. Maybe she's just like ugly, and she's afraid that everyone will find out that Evander was under Rhodes is not pretty.
Carol starts to dance like a maniac as well. All of these, it's like a
worst dancer in the group. Carol.
Cece talks to Charlie. She thanks her for covering and Charlie tells her it's no problem, but to tell the family if she's really sick because they might care more than she thinks. As Lily and Carol are still dancing like maniacs in the background. Mm-hmm. And then regardless, Cece thanks Charlie for keeping the secret. We all have them. It's a Rhodes family tradition. And Charlie just fucking loves her family. Yeah, you're right. It is a Rhodes family tradition. I'm a Rhodes.
I'm a Rhodes, bros.
And I have plenty of secrets. Dan and Alessandra are working together now. This is obviously not the weakest of the storylines, but the one given the least attention to, but it's still pretty fun. Yeah. Dan thinks Alessandra isn't being mean enough, so they're going to switch. He's going to be hate. She's going to be love. Dan calls himself more Hardy Boy than Hemingway. This was as mean as he could get, but
she loves it. She's like, oh, that's good.
That's impressive. And Dan's like, yeah, I've been at this for a while. And then out of nowhere, Katy Perry retweets them. What tweet did she retweet? And a random I hate Humphrey, like a random I love Humphrey tweet. Like, so now Katy Perry has retweeted a random Dan Humphrey account to her 9 million followers. I guess Dan's career is back on track.
That's all it took.
How are we getting Timbray a Katy Perry retweet?
we're gonna try.
Apparently, Katy Perry really hates the Hardy Boys, so
I guess so.
Yeah, fuck the Hardy Boys. So Chuck and Nate are debriefing. Nate thinks that being in control felt pretty damn good.
Katy Perry, if we were to get a retweet from Katy Perry now, I think you'd definitely be a bestseller because she's currently got about 107 million followers now.
She's really gotten a lot more since then. Yeah, wow.
Yeah, almost 100 million more.
I think we have to try it for American Idol, probably.
Okay.
And then say, when we get in, say, I'm not here to sing. Can you just retweet? Can you just retweet my tweet, please, Katy Perry, please. So Nate asks Chuck how his day with Blair was, and Chuck says he told her the truth. He just wishes he had the courage to do it sooner. I finally become the man she wanted, and she's already chosen another one. I'm too late. Brendan, I know you don't think that's true because you've been saying that Chuck and Blair are endgame since the beginning of this.
Yeah. I mean, the show's been trying to tell us for us, it's been months, but just for so many episodes in a row now that Louis and her are not going to make it. It's like, hey, Chuck's still here, and he's great, and she still loves him, and Louis is a bad guy, and he's not right for her. Like they've been hitting us over the head with this theme that it's got to end eventually.
Timbray, are you thinking that Chuck and Blair are endgame, or do you think she's going to marry Prince Louis here?
Definitely not Prince Louis based on this episode alone. You know, I haven't met him, but he seems like bad news.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's not the best either. Poor Blair doesn't have much to choose from.
That fact alone, that he didn't even show up in the episode, and the whole episode is spent just talking about how much the two of these characters can't get over each other.
Yes. So Nate asks Chuck if he still loves her, and Chuck can't imagine the day he won't, which did break my heart a little bit. I love that Chuck and Nate are having bro time. I'm a little upset Dan didn't get the invite to be there with him, though.
Yeah, it is sad. He had his own fun going on. He's starting a new romance.
Blair also seems depressed. Dorota is desperately trying to do everything she can to get Blair out of bed, but she is like catatonic, and Blair just wants to rest. She says the wedding cake made her sick, and she dismisses Dorota, but Dorota really was trying her best to get Blair up, but nothing was happening there.
No, too much cake. That's all it was. Nothing else.
That's all. Yeah. All right, last scene here. Carol knocks on Charlie's door, tells them they're finally in the clear. A very dangerous thing to say when people famously are always creeping behind that wall and hearing things they shouldn't. But Carol tells Charlie she can leave anytime she wants. But after the events today, Charlie wants to know if she can stay. And Carol closes the door and is confused. She's like, you have enough money to be set up anywhere in the world. But Charlie is not a true con woman. It's not about the money for her. We just heard about what her family was like when she was growing up. I can't blame her for wanting to finally have an actual family of her own. And she tells Carol that she can have all the money.
I mean, I was worried about this entire conversation being heard.
Being overheard. That's the go-to, yeah.
That's nice though. I hope. Again, we talked about it a little bit earlier, but I hope she keeps some of the money. If she doesn't, again, not the biggest deal. But
now
want
her to at least con them out of something.
Something, but yeah, it's clear. She's been saying this since she got here, but it's very clear now that it's very true how much she cares about this family and just wants to be here and wants some stability in her life.
Yeah, Timbray, were you feeling for Charlie at all?
I was, for sure. She was the character of the episode for me. I felt like I don't know if you guys have mentioned this before on the podcast, but I liked how on the nose the last names were. Like, I love that her last name is Dickens, and conjuring up the Charles Dickens poor orphan with the dead parents, and please sir, can I have some?
That's very
very great expectations vibes for her.
Yeah,
that's the literature man in you, seeing those parallels.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Katy Perry, if you're watching,
and I'm sure she is.
Yeah.
She sees this episode, is like, I gotta retweet that Timbray character. I hope he's feeding somewhere.
Yeah, but no, Charlie was badass this episode.
Yeah.
We love her. We love fake Charlie. Fake
like,
Charlie Rhodes.
Man, she's on top of this.
Yeah.
So Carol apologizes. She never knew about Charlie's tragic upbringing, and she reveals the playbook that she swiped for Max's jacket and says she'll make sure no one ever sees it. And she was also like, Charlie, do you have any idea why this is so sticky?
She's like, I have an idea.
And it freeze frames on them as
or just like the Looney Tunes little circle. Yeah, there you go. Max's curly dick is stuck inside the little hole. Like a pig. Like
that's all, folks.
Yeah.
And that's when Carol says if they ever found out the truth about the real Charlotte Rhodes, they would never forgive me. So this way they both get to keep their family. What the hell is going on there? Who knows? Charlie gets a call from Max. She actually answers instead of just blocking the number. Don't know why, but she asks what he wants. And Max wants his life back. The move to Los Angeles, the job he gave up, the 2 years he spent believing her and loving her when all she did was lie to him so that she could have a fancy life that isn't hers. So yeah, Charlie, not completely innocent in all this with how she kind of did fuck over Max, but he tells Charlie to watch her back because he's not leaving town until he gets what he deserves. And Charlie just confidently tells him, good luck with that. No one can touch me anymore. I'm a Rhodes now. The transformation is complete. Iconic.
Wow. Yeah, I don't know how he could touch her, but he seems heavily motivated. And I think it's almost time that I should give you my reveal of who I think is going to die.
Oh, my God.
But we should also maybe take one more break so we can get through the last segments before the time runs out of this call.
Good idea. Let's take one more break and
then
be right back after the
break.
Here we go. You've been admitted.
I'm back.
You've been admitted as well.
Okay.
All right. We are back. So Brendan has a big reveal. Before you get to that, let's just real quick. Gossip Girl still obviously, backseat role here. She didn't know much. She's not getting tips still, but she seems to still know a little of what's going on because she closes the show with disco isn't actually dead and neither am I. So she knew there was a disco party going on.
Mm-hmm.
She promises to come back, and that is our episode. So what on earth happens next? Brendan, you have some predictions here.
I don't know what's going to happen. I know it's still kind of early in the season, and Charlie Rhodes, who's the actress that plays her?
Kaylee Defer.
She is still main cast, so she's not going to be killed off yet, but I think she will die by the end of the season.
Wow.
I think Max will kill her.
Oh my goodness,
Max
that's
is murdering her.
incredible.
And
That's
I
great.
hope for a murder. I like Charlie, so I hope she doesn't get killed. But I hope maybe he's going to try and kill Charlie and he kills someone else instead. I don't know, but he looks very murderous, though.
He looks very menacing, yes.
Yeah.
A switch has been turned in Max.
Yeah. Quickly.
All right, so let's quickly get
Wait,
into
Timbray, do you think that there's killing in his blood the way he looks, or do you? Is this too outlandish?
I didn't know that this was a show with killing in it.
Not often.
This has opened a new door.
We've really only had one major death, right?
I think so. And
Barbaz,
and that was kind of an accident.
Although Brendan's big theory is that Rufus did kill him. Still has not been revealed yet, if that is what happened.
It will be.
But Chuck has gotten shot. He didn't die, obviously.
Yeah. That was not a satisfying shooting of anyone, because it was like you didn't see it. It was like, wasn't from behind him, and you just see him like go like, ugh. It wasn't super. Not that I'm not a gore guy, but
yeah, what do you want in this show?
waiting for an episode of Scream.
So let's get into our segments real quick. User review of the week. Someone other than Comedy Fan did weigh in. Hugo Vinicius gave this episode a 9 out of 10 and said one of the best eps of the entire series. The preparations for Blair's wedding, Ivy plotting horrors, and the revelation of Gossip Girl's anonymous sources. I love this episode so much. I love season 5. Apart from the boring new girl part, everything is perfect. Don't know what this person is talking about at all, but
one of the best of the series, but the whole main plot is boring. Okay.
Love that they're having a great time though. So
okay.
Next week, the episode is titled Riding in Town Cars with Boys. Do you have any predictions based on the episode title?
It sounds like pretty scriptery. So that might be what happens.
You think someone's going to ride in a town car with a boy?
I think so.
Timbray, you don't know anything that happens in the future, I believe. Do you have any predictions for what happens next?
Based on what I've learned from being a part of this podcast, that sounds pretty serene. So
It does.
she gets she's a little hurt by this rejection from Max, who turns out to be such a lying, blackmailing scum that she wants to get back out there on the dating scene, ride around in town cars.
All right.
With some
Serena
boys.
is going to go back to her room. Max is going to have broken in again. He's going to be covered in flour, licking a spoon. And he's going to say, I'm sorry, this was a misunderstanding. And Serena's going to be like, do you want to ride a town car?
That's definitely what's going to happen.
The spoon.
I mean, I don't know why you asked us if you're just going to tell us what happens.
Let's get into the episode grade. Brendan, you went first last week. I will go first this week. And man, Brendan, I think we're going to have different grades because you seem to hate this episode. I think this was a nonsense episode in the best way. We are so back, baby. I have not felt this kind of excitement watching the show all season in a long time. The story of Dan fighting Twitter trolls was light, but it was still fun. We had the political thriller with Inspector Nate on the case. Like I said, he made me care about the Spectator for the first time all season. I'm intrigued as to what's going on there. We had the emotional heart of the episode with some incredible Blair and Chuck stuff. I know Blair and Chuck has gotten stale at this point in the show, but you know what? They were having their serious scenes. It was working for me. The scenes between them at the end were so real, so raw and emotional. I loved watching the performances and then the craziness of the Rhodes girl storyline. Nonsense. Perfection. Charlie continuing to pull the wool over everyone's eyes, even when like Max shows up to reveal everything and brings proof. This was so fun to watch. And then the stupid dance party and like everyone dancing just bumps up for me. Cece passing out just sealed it for me. I'm not going to go full A, obviously, unfortunately, because it wasn't completely there, but it's an A- for me. I love Cece passing out, everyone dancing. I loved it. It's an A-. Brendan, I feel like you're going to give this like an F or something.
No F. It's funny because every time I'm really down on the episode, like you talking me through it just makes me like it more because you make it sound so much more fun than it actually was. Like I had to keep that in mind because you being high on the show in general definitely paints it in a different light for me, but I gotta stay strong here because I really was watching it and just rolling my eyes a lot this episode. Even like the stuff that you enjoyed, like the Chuck and Blair, which you touched on, is a little stale for a lot of people probably. I'm one of those people. I think it's so stale that just does absolutely nothing for me besides the fact that it gets Blair on screen a little bit, which was still like not enough of it for me. The dance stuff was good, but it was so much of an afterthought. He spent like maybe 3 minutes on screen total. I can't even count that. The main stuff, like the stuff I did enjoy was the main plot that we got the most of, but it took so long to get to the interesting part. And the interesting part was something that we sort of have known is coming like since before the season even started. So it was not surprising. It was just a matter of like how it was going to get resolved, which I guess is part of the fun of a TV show is like seeing the journey. But the journey has just been so lackluster all season long. Grandma passing out was good though. So, so I'll give it a C-.
Ah, man,
Just
such
bad.
a
I
discrepancy
don't know.
between our grids. All right, Timbray, are you closer to me, closer to Brendan, somewhere in between? What do you grade the episode?
I think I would plant myself somewhere in the middle. I think, without the context of what's going on, I think the moments where I was rolling my eyes were actually where I enjoyed the episode the most, just because I didn't have the context for a lot of the plot. So there's this show that my dad and my sister were really into for a while. Grimm, are you guys familiar with that show?
I've heard of it.
No.
I've not watched Grimm though.
It's a weird one. It's a
Okay.
corny one, and there's this one quote from the episode that my family quotes all the time. It was their Christmas episode of one of the seasons of Grimm, and there's this one character. She's having a tough time with her werewolf boyfriend, and her friend goes to comfort her. And she's like, "What's wrong?" And she's like looking around at this Christmas decorated house. And she goes, "Everything's red and green, but I'm so blue."
That's a good
Such
line.
ridiculous. Like,
I can't wait to
guess
break that one out on
technically
Christmas Day. And
could call
Nicole's
it
uncle's house.
witty, but it's so ridiculous. And I feel like this episode had so many lines like that for me. And you mentioned many of them. And I just enjoyed them so much. I wrote some of them down. My favorite one was definitely like, "How can I choose my wedding cake when my groom has lost his sweetness?"
it's in a similar vein
What
to
a
the Grimm
thing.
quote.
Yes, that's
For a
so Blair to
human
be
to
melodramatic like that. Yes.
I really can't
Yeah.
wait for Christmas dinner just to start crying. Like someone go, "Brendan, what's wrong?" Like everything's just so red and green. Meanwhile, I'm so blue.
Yeah.
Like, what the
What
fuck
a
is
line.
Brendan's problem?
And those voiceover lines, that's Gossip Girl, I'm
Yes.
assuming.
Yes.
Yeah. She had some good zingers too. Like
She's
with
always
the
good for that.
musical references, like
Mm-hmm.
Chaka Khan may have been every woman, but looks like Charlie's having trouble being two.
Yeah.
Yeah, Gossip Girl is great at what she does. You
Yes.
do have to hand it to her.
And the Sister Sledge reference. Yeah.
Oh,
So I think the general ridiculousness and the ending scene really was powerful one to me. Like the zoom out with Charlie in the window, that music.
That's something about Gossip Girl that you'll find is like you think the episode ends, but there's always one scene that's going to leave you with some, even if it's like a lame cliffhanger, they will give you a cliffhanger almost every episode.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I would give it a B probably.
All
I think
right.
It was
Right
silly,
in the
but
middle.
made me laugh, entertained me, stuck the ending.
Not choosing sides. Timbray saw it getting tense between me and Brendan, and he ran out of the Google Meet.
Boys.
crying. He said, "I just give it a B. Just give it a B. I don't know." All right, so solid B. I'll take it. Let's do our MVPs of the episode. It probably should be Charlie because she does incredible work in this episode and has for most of the season, but I'm not going to give it to her.
Oh, no.
But I will. I do have to point out, though, that I still don't get where her detractors are coming from. Do we not see everything that she is bringing to the show? She is carrying season 5 on her back. She is such a complex character. She's doing incredible things, but it's because of like a pure reason of wanting a family. And now we find out about her tragic backstory. I love her, but
That's one of the things I was going to mention before too in my episode review was that this series would be absolutely nothing right now without her. There's nothing there. There's no substance to this entire television show without Charlie. They have nothing else to write about except for what Charlie's bringing to the table.
she's the unsung hero of the show in these later seasons, and people have the audacity to claim that she sucks.
It's one thing if you bring in a new character and there's nothing wrong with the show, and she's like bringing it down and like adding like muddying it
No,
in
she's
a bad
breathing
way.
new
But
life
like yeah,
into the show, baby.
there's nothing left, and then she saved it.
Yeah, exactly. So she will not be getting my MVP though. I did just want to shout her out. I'm giving the MVP to Cece. The incredible passing out is the number one reason. That is obviously why. But she's also was a great grandma to her fake granddaughter in this episode, opening up her trust fund again. And she was making me laugh all episode with her one-liners and her dancing and her love of cocaine. She just kept getting me. So I'm giving Cece my MVP. Brendan, who is your MVP?
I was hoping that you would give it to Charlie so I could give it to somebody else, because there's someone else that caught my eye all episode long. But I believe firmly that Charlie the MVP belongs to her because she just had the best episode. But I just want to call somebody else out because they rarely have a great episode, and this is one that I think they've earned it over the course of the season, and it's time to give them their dues. Rufus, you get my first MVP in a long time. You're just on a hot streak with this season 5, just being kind of in the background, and you had a great background episode with your hilarious golden choker, and you saved your mother-in-law with your beans and your chili. So way to go! And amazing dancing too. And I hope you enjoyed some coke at the old lady party.
So are you giving the MVP to Rufus or
I'm
Charlie?
I'm gonna give it to Rufus. I want to say on record that Charlie, it belongs to her. But,
and I said that on record as well.
Yeah, but
we both said that Charlie should get the MVP, but neither one of us gave it to him.
But I don't know when Rufus is going to get another chance, and I just want to make sure people know that I appreciate him this season.
Timbray, is Charlie going to get shut out, or are you going to give Charlie the MVP?
As deserving as Charlie is, I think I have to give a tip of the cap to Chuck's therapist.
Oh,
yes.
All right.
He was so keen and incisive in his perception of that it was the broken off engagement that upset Blair. Yeah, that was
the Krugs.
Dr. Kruger getting the drive-by MVP.
We love it, a Krug man.
Incredibly, we will all acknowledge that Charlie deserves the queen sweep of MVPs here, but we'll get none. We'll get none.
Absolutely none.
Poor Charlie.
Well, my thought process was like, you know what, we like her so much this season. I'm sure she'll get more from us too.
Just said how she's saving the show, and we
she saved the show, but Rufus was really funny in that golden necklace.
And Cece passed the fuck out. LVP for me, it's got to be Max. He watched his whole world crumble in front of him. Charlie got the best of him. He lost Serena, and he lost his jerk off material. Just a complete loss for him overall.
Yeah,
so Max gets my LVP. Brendan, who's your LVP?
Yeah, it's got to be him. I was even trying to find someone that could be besides him. There's nobody else. Like, even if you wanted to think about Dan, at least Dan now has like a new romantic prospect, and got retweeted by Katy Perry. He was the only one that had a bad episode. Maybe Blair sort of ended in the dumps, but I like when she's on screen, so I don't want to give her an LVP. Max is just he's a bad dude.
Yeah. Is Dan's romantic prospect Katy Perry?
Yeah, obviously. If you get retweeted, that means you're about to fuck.
He's gonna slide into her DM. Hey, thanks for the retweet.
With a dick pic.
Jeez. Timbray, who is your LVP of the episode?
What exactly are the parameters of LVP? Like the one who just sucked the most in the episode?
Is up for
completely up to you.
The person that you hated the most. It could be the person who you think just like lost the episode, like they just had a bad episode, or it could just be the person that you want to say fuck you to.
Okay,
we've done all three of those.
I mean, I would definitely sign on to Max. I think I came away liking Lily. I'm sorry. But she was not great, and the Hardy Boys took some hard hits as well.
Okay, yeah.
So, for the record, is your LVP also Max, or are you giving it to the Hardy Boys?
That would be a very funny LVP.
I'll give it to the Hardy Boys.
Okay. Tough insult from the Hardy Boys. The Hardy Boys are gonna get.
I mean, what do they do? They're just kids. Give them a break.
I can't wait when when we review this season, and I'm like, the Hardy Boys got an LVP. Oh, that's great. All right, that does it for our segments, except of course for everyone's favorite segment, Lonely Boys Theater. And you know what? Thank God, in the interest of time, we have a very short scene here. Where did we put it? We put it in the in the Facebook chat. So if everyone wants to get their scripts out in front of them, I have mine. And Brendan, you love being Serena. Do you want to be Serena, or do you want to?
I'm looking at the breakdown here, and there's someone with 2 words that they could say. So yep. I'll fall on that sword just so our guests can get a little bit more of the limelight here.
Okay, great. So Timbray, do you want to be Serena or Charlie?
I'll be Charlie.
All right, so I will be Serena. I can take the one line, Brendan, if you want to be your girl Serena, or if you want the one line, I could be Serena.
I'll deliver the one line. I'll deliver it.
Okay,
well.
so I'll be Serena. Does everyone have their scripts in front of them?
Yes.
I'm getting it right now.
Just gotta pick a voice to use.
All right.
Got it.
All right, here we go. So I will start it off. I see you two have found each other. No need for introductions, right, Max? And Ivy.
Serena, this isn't what it looks like.
Oh, so you two didn't used to date?
We did.
And you didn't pretend like you've never met?
We did.
I knew that's exactly the voice that was. And you didn't try to convince me not to see him again because he may still be hung up on his ex, Ivy. And that's what the
Wow. Short and
That's
powerful.
it.
Well done.
That's all we got. Unfortunately, that's all I could find. But wow, what a great! Much like Nate getting a standing ovation when he entered a room, we are all getting standing ovations by everyone watching the video. Everyone loved it. That is going to do it for our segments. So we are out of time for everything except for, of course, some plugs. But before we get to that, Timbray, thank you so much.
You.
It was your first time on the podcast, first time on a podcast, and you were a natural. You were so good. It was so fun to talk to you. So great to catch up and hear that voice and see that face. Do you have anything that you would like to plug at this hour?
Nothing except the Hardy Boys.
Go check them out.
Check them out.
Yeah,
Check out the Hardy Boys.
They're great. Frank and Joe, they do great work, catch a lot of criminals. It's wonderful.
All right. So you heard it here first. Hardy Boys. Brendan, what are you plugging?
I am plugging just our Patreon. Still, you can listen to our sister show, The Sandy Boys, on patreon.com/thehappyboyspod. We are trying to rack up those 20 new subscribers in this season 5 recap of Gossip Girl. We've gotten 2 so far.
Hello.
We are a 10th of the way there. Let's keep going on this track we're going on now. What a great holiday gift it would be to anybody. I guess this is coming out kind of after the holidays, but if you forgot to give somebody something, you can give them a measly $3 so they can sign up for our Patreon and listen to our great content and recaps of the OC. So check that out so we can get our coveted cameo of Kelly Rutherford, who plays Lily.
Some good alliteration there.
Yeah.
Coveted cameo of Kelly. This is going to be our last podcast of the year.
Wow.
Last lonely of the year.
Last lonely.
The last lonely. The last of the lonelies. As for me, I don't know. I just started watching Elite Season 7. I've always said it's the Spanish Gossip Girl, so check out that show. Also, new book came out that I've been listening to podcasts of, the Oral History of the OC. Welcome to the OC. Written by Alan Sepinwall, great TV writer, and also the creators, Josh Schwartz and Stephanie Savage. So I have asked for that book for Santa for Christmas, so hopefully I get it, and I have a lot to talk about when I read it. And that's all. You can follow me on Twitter at MattyFresh24. You can follow Brendan at Ruppy Puppy. You can follow his other podcast at the Hoppy Boys Pod. And you can come back next week where we will be breaking down Season 5, Episode 10, Riding in Town Cars with Boys, with another special guest. But until then, you know you love us. XOXO. Lonely Boys.
I'm going to go do my last lonely.
We find...